Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Bottom of the Bill.
How you been?
I've been pretty good.
I was talking to the audience and looking right at the camera, but yeah, thanks for letting me know.
Well, I thought we could have a little discourse as well.
Let's go back and forth.
How you been?
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
Fucking, can you do negative?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But today's episode is not negative. We had Chris
No.
Sgammato on of Displace. It was a super fun conversation.
Yeah.
The dude's hilarious.
Yeah.
And Displace is working on some amazing stuff right now. It was cool to get to kind of talk about the concept albums that they were putting together a while back, and how it's kind of just like continued. He's continued the theme throughout every album.
He says he's not a really theatrical guy, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like writing a musical, that award-winning musical, and then the album that he's coming out with now, like it's very deep and
yeah,
very showy, but not in a bad way.
Not a bad way at all. It's like it's super creative, and I love it.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, honestly.
December 6th.
December 6th is when it goes live, the album, and then December 10th is their show at Crowbar in Billy's favorite town.
Yep.
Tampa. That's how you say it, right?
Tampa Bay, they call it.
Tampa Bay, okay.
Because of Tom fucking Brady.
That's right, Tom Brady.
And the Lightning.
Not a big NBA
And the
guy.
Rays.
But anyways, before we let you get to the episode, we got a merch store available. The website is up, bottomofthebill.com. It's got merchandise. It's got all kinds of great information, full episodes on there.
Listed
Go check
below.
It out. Listed below in the description.
Yeah.
So check it out. Support what we got going on. Enjoy. It's our last episode of the season as far as I guess. It's kind of wild. This just flew by.
It's our last episode of, not like last episode with a get for the year.
For the year.
Can you believe it's been a fucking year?
It's been crazy.
I can.
I can't.
Been renting out my house for the past 12 months,
Yeah,
y'all.
we fucking got so we had.
Nah,
Chris
it's been fun. It's been fun.
So we have Chris and Gene on board.
Yeah.
It's flown, man.
Yeah.
It's been a blessing having these guys on, and just a lot of fun. And I'm stoked with everything we've been creating, and stoked for what's going to happen next year.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, enjoy the episode. Chris Sgammato, right now.
Yeah, I'll let you have that one. Bottom of the Bill starts now.
This is Bottom of the Bill, where we talk about the modern grind of a musician.
Album cycles.
Hold on, Bill, give me a second, man. Because we don't know what we're talking about.
Spotify playlists.
You keep interrupting me. That's not how we discussed it. Just give me a second, man. We invite established artists
Festival lineups.
Can I just get my stuff out real quick? We invite established artists on to share their strategy to success.
Marketing strategies.
The premier do-it-yourself podcast.
Hashtag DIY.
Screw it. This is Bottom of the Bill.
Chris Sgammato, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. How you doing?
Hey, very good, very good. Just got done teaching for 7 hours, and then I got a rehearsal because I'm a psycho, but, doing pretty good overall.
Hell yeah. Thanks for fitting the podcast into your busy schedule. We appreciate it.
Hell yeah, I'm very, very stoked to be doing this, and I appreciate you guys.
Do you teach mostly kids or just like range?
I was hoping we were going to go into this.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, my youngest student is 4, and my oldest student is 64. So, all ages, all instruments, all types of crazy,
Yeah, I was wondering what you teach because you're multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah, I'll do, I guess the majority of my students are probably, it's an even split between like voice, guitar, piano. I have a lot of kids in like a singer-songwriter program that are like, I'm producing their albums and whatnot, and I usually make them learn. At one point, if they come in playing like guitar and they sing, then I'll have them play piano also. If they play piano and sing, I'll have them play guitar or like drums, and they kind of learn the basics and the mechanics of kind of everything over time. And especially like the ins and outs, basic tracking and stuff. We don't get too much into mixing for the majority of the kids, but but yeah, I have obviously some like saxophone, flute, clarinet, ukulele, some drum students, some bass students. We have Danny J, actually, who teaches here. She teaches violin, guitar, viola, cello. She's great.
Are you running the school out of your house?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Yeah, it's it's definitely not a home. I might actually, if we're mobile on this iPad here, I might even like show you guys. It's a kind of cool setup actually.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right,
Let's
we'll
go.
do
Let's do a little
empty-
virtual tour.
We'll do MTV Cribs later.
Okay. Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, that's. Huh?
I was gonna say the reason why we asked is because Anton just started teaching a little while ago, and he's just the best with kids. 100%.
Well, no, I've done a little bit of teaching over the years, and I never really stuck with anything just because it's not the medium that I find I am most helpful in when it comes to music.
You don't need
and
to be helpful to teach.
I feel like that's exactly what you would need to do.
Oh,
when
maybe you
teach.
do. Sorry.
And so just a recent experience. It's always it's not the teaching so much. It's usually just like the varied age range, and I don't particularly know how to communicate super well with children. That's why I was curious as to how how you kind of approach students at different levels. Billy hasn't really evolved past the age of 12, so he's really good with children. And I was born out of the womb just like this, so I
the
never.
hairiest baby you've ever seen.
Yeah. So for him, like working with children is just so second nature.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you kind of get over that hump, if you have any of that at all?
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm like a giant man child. I never really finished developing into adulthood, for sure. And I've sort of delayed adolescence and I guess maturity. I'm staving it off as long as I can. So I've made it in my 30s and still haven't grown up, so I'm hoping to keep that going strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, a big part of it is I have some kids that are, if an 8-year-old comes into a lesson, like they might still believe in Santa Claus or something, and so their sense of like mystery and wonder and awe and sort of, I guess the negative connotation is gullibility, but their sense of like, they haven't been contaminated or poisoned by reality just yet, and so they're still fresh with, you can tell them like, oh my God, yeah, I like levitated on the way here, and like, I was upside down yesterday, and it was just, do you remember when the whole world was like upside down? And they'll just be like, yeah, like totally, yeah. And so I mean, we've had lessons, some of these kids will just sit on the floor because they're like, it's floor time, and I'm like, it is floor time.
Yeah.
And we just sit on the floor and. You have to, whereas an adult would obviously be like, that's ridiculous. Like, you weren't levitating. Don't tell me that.
Right.
We're not sitting on the floor. I'm an adult, So as long as you're able to kind of ride with that, like sort of childlike innocence and sort of, and get on their level, like literally, and kind of act like a kid, it kind of keeps you young and it kind of keeps things fun and it sort of preserves your own sense of wonder and imagination that so many other people our age and older kind of kill all too soon, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. How do you deal with it, Bill? Is it kind of same deal when
Without
you're
a
teaching
doubt.
kids? Yeah.
You just you kind of not treat, because that sounds like a mean way of putting it, but like you treat your relationship with a child student as like you're just treating them like a miniature kind of goofy Dumbo adult.
Yeah.
Like you talk to them like they're an adult, and then as soon as they start, talking about Dragon Ball Z, you're like, fuck yeah, I think it was pretty dope when Goku went to Super Saiyan 3.
Yeah.
You just and then you ride that.
Yeah.
But one thing you never do is try to reason with them
Yeah.
at all,
Yeah.
or to make them come to grips with the crushing reality that everything will end.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you just do that,
Well, I don't. Yeah.
you might take off. Mr.
Yeah.
Holland's Opus over here, like I was saying earlier.
It's pretty brutal. Yeah. It's I don't know what the analogy is, but it's quite a sight to watch you try and teach a 6-year-old who has no interest in playing music.
I would kill to watch it. Like if you could, I know you can't really film it because it's kids, but like maybe I'll just be in there and just like, yeah, I don't know, he's doing good.
Yeah, it's like if Darth Vader would have raised Luke Skywalker kind of situation. You know what I mean?
That's pretty good.
Anyways, enough about that. I want to talk about you and the things that you got going on. What is your primary instrument? What would you say is the instrument that you play best or that you're most comfortable with?
It's a toss up between saxophone and voice because those were my two majors at USF. Yeah, I did voice performance and saxophone performance. So probably, I guess I'm more proficient on sax because nobody has a saxophone player. So I get a lot more gigs on that than I do vocals, I suppose. But yeah, definitely voice and sax for sure. Although my favorite to play is definitely bass. It's just definitely not my most proficient. But
Yeah, that's an instrument right there that I also can't really fully grasp because it's like as a guitar player, you spend so much of your time, I think, learning how to play melodies, and obviously rhythm is an important part of it too. It's a very crucial part of it. But I think that you're learning more how to dance around the rhythm section rather than being so locked in with it. And for me as a bass player, it's like trying to figure out how to have the melodic sensibility, but also make sure that you're really locked in with the drummer. That's like kind of balancing two different worlds that I think I get a little overwhelmed with. Do you find that at all?
yeah, totally. And actually, that's my biggest thing is I tend to do a lot more like, ooh, la-di-da, just kind of floating around and doing my thing. And then I'm like, oh, wait, no, where's the one? Like, where's the kick? So that's why I'm not a fantastic bass player. I noodle around a bit too much.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. What do you think? Billy thinks that all guitar players can just naturally play bass also.
It depends on the style.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like it's just a bigger guitar, right?
Yeah, but it's a totally different approach to music, though.
But you still use the same like hands, right?
Yeah, but my finger technique is terrible. My finger picking, like I can finger pick on guitar, right? And I can also use a pick on guitar, but neither one of those things translates to bass for me very easily.
Right.
I
I don't think I was like, no, I've said this before. You got me. I was like, we don't have a bass player. I'm like, well, you play guitar, so you can play bass, right?
Yeah, it's literally like your exact words.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can play piano, you can play organ. I'm like, yeah.
No, again, it's just such a different instrument. Though.
No, it's the same thing, just different sound.
You
That's
see
what I'm
I-
trying to say.
People don't understand what I deal with on a regular basis.
Well,
here.
whatever.
It's like a fucking brick wall, bro.
You can play. You can play piano, so you can play organ and synthesizer. I'm like, yeah, I can. So
Okay.
that's how it works.
All right. Interesting.
They all look the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense. And
Like
they have
a-
amps,
Yeah, it's like a stick shift in a car. If you drive one, you can drive them all.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Okay. So, anyways, when did you get started playing music, Chris?
Oh man, it's actually a really goofy story. It was 1999, and okay, here's the scene. I'll set it for you. It's 1999. I've got my Jinko jeans on because I'm like really cool and like a skater dude or whatever, right? And also like a big old nerd. And so I go into day one of Carwise Middle School, and I get my schedule. And sixth period, some asshole put me down in band. And I was like, listen, after first period, I marched down to the guidance counselor's office. I'm like, listen, lady, like, you got me mistaken for someone else. Like, I am not a band nerd. You need to fix this right fucking now. I was pissed. And she's like, calm your tits, little kid. Like, it's fine. I changed it. But you got to go this one day, okay? And then tomorrow, you're not in band. You're in wheel doing, like, computer science or whatever the hell. And so, yeah, I go in there, sixth period, and there was no, like, desks or anything, like every other class. There was just, there's chairs on, like, the band risers, and we weren't even sitting in those. We were just sitting on the floor in a big circle, and we were rolling a tennis ball around and passing it to each other. I don't even remember what we did. I don't know what exactly happened that day, but I do know that I went home and I told my parents that I wanted to go play clarinet and I wanted to stay in band. And I chose that because when I had been convinced somehow to just do this band thing and have this magical moment unexpectedly, the bell rang and I was supposed to get on my bus and I was like, all right, Mr. Edwards, like, what's the easiest instrument? Because I wasn't trying to like try hard or whatever. And he's like, oh, clarinet, definitely clarinet's the easiest. And my friend CJ had gone up to him and been like, Mr. Edwards, what's the easiest instrument? He was like, oh, trombone, like definitely trombone. And then John Cassidy was like, oh, trumpet, definitely trumpet. So he assigned us all these instruments because we all asked him separately what was the easiest one. And he told us all those. And so, I went home, told my parents I wanted to play clarinet, and pretty much that's how I got into music.
Wow. And
Yeah.
So that was in band then, right? Like you did it for band. And then what was kind of the like what was kind of the next steps? You started like, I guess, in school you were playing and stuff. When did you kind of like start playing in bands and jamming with friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, pretty much. I picked up sax the following year for jazz band just because I didn't have clarinet, so I had to pick it up, and I was like, cool, sick. So I was playing clarinet in concert band, saxophone, and jazz band. And then when I went to high school, I was kind of attracted to this girl who was going to do marching band, and my buddies were like, maybe we should do marching band. And I was like, well, Julie's doing marching band. I guess I'll do marching band. So I was like, cool, let's do marching band. So then I played clarinet in that, and then I auditioned for the orchestra, and I actually tied in first chair like my freshman year with like 2 seniors. It was pretty sweet. And I was like, okay, cool, I guess I'm like okay at this. And one of them was actually like in All-State. It was kind of dope. It was like really cool. And so I was pretty stoked on that. And then I did marching band all 4 years of high school, although I switched to alto sax sophomore year. And I did pretty good with that. And I was like section leader and all this. And then I picked up guitar. Well, I picked up bass first, actually, because my buddy Josh played guitar. And we listened to a lot of Blink-182 and like punk skater shit. And but he already played guitar, so I had to play bass, and I was like, that's cool, that's fine. So I picked up bass when I was, I guess it would have been like 2003, maybe 2002, and then guitar like shortly after that, and like kind of piano in like 2005, 2006. And then I went to USF, and I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do because I didn't really want to major in music because I didn't want to be like broke as shit. You know,
yeah,
or so I thought. And then yeah, I kind of somewhere along the way I just sort of changed my mind. Just kind of was like, all right, I'll do this music thing. And my roommate had a band, and he's like, oh, well, come jam with us, you know. And so I kind of was screwing around with that a little bit. It was called Dancing with the Capulet, and it was a pretty sick band, man. They were into like Mars Volta and some like really difficult stuff. And I played with them for a while, and looking back on it, it was pretty terrible because, I mean, they were great, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and like I didn't know how to improvise in that kind of context, you know. But then yeah, I found other groups in the area. I fell into the OBJ scene by way of my good friend Animal, the Reverend Funky D. He kind of pulled me into that whole thing. Was in and out of bands, and then eventually found my Displace people, and kind of just been running around doing that ever since.
Hell yeah! And so this is all. You said you went to USF. Did you grow up in St. Pete, Tampa area, like your whole life?
Yeah, I did. I grew up in Tarpon, Oldsmar. It's a little bit west of here by like Palm Harbor, kind of.
Right.
And then I went to high school in Tarpon Springs.
Okay, cool. And what was what was kind of like the scene? I guess. Did you was most of your music stuff like in the school setting until you got linked up with the guys in college, or were you kind of out in the scene a little bit? And if so, what was the scene like at that time?
Yeah, I was pretty much. I don't know if you guys did marching band or know people that do, but it eats up your whole life. There's like you have it in school. You have rehearsal like 4 days a week, 4 evenings a week. There's not really much time for much else.
Right.
And our band director was the visual caption head for Phantom Regiment, which at the time was the #2 drum corps in the world, which is like the closest thing to like a professional marching band or whatever. So he was a real like drill sergeant. So I didn't really get out and check out, the local band scene so much. I was kind of, I guess insulated isn't the right word, but I was very much like distanced from that. I was just kind of laser focused on my little bubble of like marching band and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Did you play music like that?
There's not a lot of piano in marching band, so no.
No, I'm saying like did you were you in band or anything like?
Because I literally can't play any other instrument than the piano.
They don't have like a piano like in high school bands or anything.
No,
not jazz bands or like any other versions of.
Not as far as I know.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Chris, Underdog, can you back me up on this?
There's piano in jazz bands.
In jazz bands there are.
Yeah.
Not a lot of jazz in Kentucky.
Well,
I'll say.
we had piano in our pit in marching band.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how do you march around with a piano?
No, it's in the pit, the part that doesn't march, the percussion section.
Lame. I'm out.
Because you don't march a xylophone.
Now, if they bring guitar into it, then I probably would have done it. But no, I was totally content playing Coldplay covers at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were.
So
Still are.
So you were just
Coldplay's a great band.
So,
Fuck off.
so you were just insulated because you were antisocial and had no friends. You were insulated, Chris, because you were actually learning how to play music. am I
one
right?
way of looking
Am I
at it,
right
I
on this,
guess.
Bill? Would you say that I'm right about this?
I was definitely a social butterfly.
Yeah.
Everyone loved me.
Yeah. All right. So, let's talk about forming Displace and kind of how that came. I'm sure we're skipping over a bunch of stuff, but I know Displace has some stuff happening now that I want to get into. So let's talk about the evolution of that.
Yeah. Speaking of evolution, fun fact, we actually just dropped a remix of our song Possums today. And it was actually remixed by a former student of mine, and his name is Evolution. His name is Evan.
Wow.
So that was an interesting choice of words. So that was pretty sweet.
Maybe it was grilled into my, because I did see that post earlier, and I don't know why I used the word evolution right now. I was definitely searching for a word to use. Maybe that's why it came in there. It was just like a subconscious thing. That's pretty dope. But congratulations, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was actually, it's really cool too, because you probably read, but I taught him, like over a decade ago, and I taught him like voice, piano, a little bit of guitar, and then he saw me doing like a live loop set at Dunderbox, where I used to do like, I would beatbox and play like bass, keys, sax, vocals, whatever. And he was like, oh dude, that's like, can you teach me how to beatbox? And so I did. And he actually, like earlier this year, he wrote a song called Beatbox, and then he featured me on it. It was really cool. So we got to like do that together, and it's just, it was really sweet.
That's awesome, man. Very cool.
Yeah, man, thanks. But so to answer your question, so Displace formed in 2012, and I was actually originally the bass player. And so we were a 5-piece band, and somewhere along the way, actually, I had a gig at Dunderbox, and Displace also had a gig. And I was like, hey, listen, I've got this dude that he can fill in, like he can hang, trust me. But the deal is, you have to promise me that you're not gonna come home and be like, oh, he needs to be the bass player now because he's super dope. And they're like, no, we promise, you're the bass player, it's fine, like, we love your bass playing. And I was like, cool. And so they go play their gig, I go play mine, and they come to my house afterwards, and they're like, Chris, listen, we have this great idea. And I was like, no. And they're like, why don't you do lead vocals and play saxophone, and Vinny Svoboda will be our bass player? And I was like, God damn it, I knew. Of course, yeah, because that's what should happen, right?
Because Vinny is a fucking animal. That's
Yeah.
why.
He's really great.
Yeah, and
no offense.
I knew that would happen, and I knew that's what needed to happen. So I just like to play bass, but I was like, okay, clearly this is a move, so we'll do that. And then I think it was a few months later that our tenor saxophonist left the band, and that was when I think the band really like got serious, when we were a 4-piece. And that would have been, I guess, 2013, maybe. It's all kind of a blur. And I was like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. We started like booking shows for real, and, not just kind of screwing around, like playing jams for 3 hours, which I guess we still do, but just a little more coherently than it was back then, where we didn't really have any songs, And then, we put out Eureka, which has a whole crazy concept. I could ramble about that. And it's sort of about kind of discovering this like light bulb moment. And well, I guess it is kind of important because it ties into what we're doing now. So I've always been into making like really big works. Like I wrote, produced, directed, and starred in an award-winning musical in 2012. I don't usually talk about it because I just don't really, I'm kind of done with it. But I have like big ideas, and I'm not really satisfied unless they're executed like in a very like on a big scale. I don't like to just like throw out a single here and there. And so we had actually kind of, right, it's a thing.
I'm with you, man, 100%. I feel you.
Like, I feel like, how can you summarize the infinite complexities of the human mind in a song? Like, I guess you can, but it kind of takes a lot of songs. You know?
Totally.
Maybe it takes a lifetime of everybody's songs all together, all at once, to even have a shot.
Oh man, there's a sound I can live without ever hearing in my life.
What, 10,000 didgeridoos?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we decided that the concept discography was a cool vibe, so we went with that. And so the first record is called Eureka, and It's sort of it's based off Archimedes discovering the concept of displacement. And TLDR version is, he's a mathematician, the king's got a crown, the king's like, bro, I need you to tell me if this crown is like legit or not. And he's like, and he's like, yeah, you got 3 days to figure it out or I'm gonna kill you. And because that's just how they just got shit done back then. And so he's like, well, I can't melt it down because I'll destroy it, but I don't know how to like see if it's pure gold or if it's cut with like, lead or whatever the hell, if it's plated. So he's like trying to figure out on like the 3rd day, the sun's setting, and he's literally thinking about the sun setting on his life. And he sinks down into the bathtub. And as he does, to kind of like cool his mind off, and as he does, he notices that the water level rises, and he concludes that the water has risen by the amount of water that's been displaced by his sinking into it must equal his mass. And since he knows the mass of gold versus other metals, he can like safely and accurately calculate whether or not the crown is made of pure gold. So he solved this like massive like question that he had. And then he was so excited.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. No, he jumps up naked, like runs through the streets screaming Eureka. Like that's his whole vibe, And so that's what the first record's about, is about having this light bulb moment. And I remember I had it with Displace. I was, at the time, as I said, I wrote a musical, and I was torn between this decision to keep pursuing that. And actually, my buddy Brendan wanted me to come up to New York. And he's like, dude, I've got like a theater up here. I've got a budget. We can put it on. We can do this. And we were jamming in my buddy Brett Peretz's kitchen. And we started doing this tune, Needles, which was a song that I wrote with my friend Josh, who passed away. And everything just kind of clicked. And I was like, oh, this is where I need to be. This is the band I need to be with. These are the people I need to be making music with. Like, let's go. And so the whole album sort of teases this Needles melody and kind of leads up to this like light bulb moment of profound realization at the end in Needles.
That's been my favorite,
so that's sort of
favorite
like
song
first
for
record.
like a decade. I swear to God. I still remember the first time I heard that song, where I was and everything.
Really?
Yeah, I was at the Funky Buddha Lounge.
In South Florida?
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Or maybe it was. Yeah. The one in Boca Raton, right?
Yeah.
And Lucky Costello played a set with y'all. And I fucking was like, play Needles! This is the best fucking song in the world. So happy.
I've never. I'll have to, is that album? That album's out.
It's out.
Right, on Spotify and everything.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and check it out. I'd love to hear that.
I love that track. I should have blasted before we started.
That's
Thanks, man.
What an opportunity to turn down, though, to go to New York and you must have had some real faith in what you were doing at the time. Do you feel comfortable at all going into the musical that you did, and just a little bit about that process, how it won an award and everything like that?
Yeah, sure. So it's called inertia, and inertia is the force that resists gravity. Right. So we think of gravity as a force that pulls down, right? So like drop this and it goes down. But the actual definition of gravity is it's a force that attracts lesser objects towards something greater than themselves, like the moon to the earth or the earth to the sun. And so at the time, I kind of looked around at this world, and it just seemed like it was caught up in a bunch of distractions. And whether those distractions manifested in substances like pot, pills, alcohol, mushrooms, or cults like religious fanaticism or sports fanaticism or celebritocracy obsession or whatever, it seemed like there were a number of systems put in place, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that sort of kept our minds from things that mattered to this like immaterial nonsense. Whether that's the work of like the Illuminati or whatever, conspiracy theorists can they can kind of fight over that. But regardless of the intention or what have you, you can't deny that those things exist. And so I believed at the time, and still do, that society is stuck in a state of social inertia. And we are resisting this pull towards something greater, whether that's like God or utopia, or at the very least a better society, because of our insatiable appetite for distractions. And so the musical was all about sort of creating informed citizens in a democratic society, responsible consumers in a capitalistic society, and tolerant believers in a diverse society. And that was it was like a social thing. Spoiler alert, it's really depressing, and it's because I think it's realistic, and I'm a very pessimistic person, as optimistic as I also am. And so it gets pretty dark, but it was a good time, it was fun.
Did you ever record it or anything?
Twice I tried to. The first time we did it, it was a 3-hour musical, man. The soundtrack's
Right.
still on Spotify somewhere. It doesn't make sense without the dialogue, and so I had some girl that was supposed to film it. It was Saturday night. We were killing it. Everyone was hitting their cues. And then someone came and told me at the end of the first act that she just didn't show up. So I was like, oh, that sucks. So never got video of it. The second time we put it on at the 2012 Orlando International Fringe Festival, where it won Best Musical and Best National Show. And I hired someone. I paid them cash in advance to come film it. And then they showed up, but they never gave me the footage. And then I think that was a big part of why I just became so demoralized. I was like, dude, like I had spent, so much time on this thing. And it's like, all right, and here I am like, at the time, I'm sort of like dejected and sort of like just come out of that. And then I meet these dudes in Brett's kitchen and we're jamming out and it's awesome. And at the same time, I'm also teaching and getting fulfillment from that. And so I'm like, all right, maybe that's a sign that I'm just I don't really want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of the opportunity that was presented to you in New York didn't really have the same kind of weight anymore as you were kind of moved on from the project emotionally, I guess.
Totally, yeah. And it's also hard to, you got to figure like with musical theater, you spend so much time, man. It was 40 hours a week for 3 months straight. And you're not getting paid for it. Everyone's just kind of donating their time. And you put all this time and effort and energy in for like a couple performances. It might be like a Thursday night preview, Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee, boom. Like that's it, And then meanwhile, I get together with the Displace guys and we don't even rehearse and we just go perform. You know what I mean? So the ratio of rehearsal to performance was just so astronomically high and so much work for just, now the high that you get from a musical is obviously, for me, it's unlike any sort of show that you play, but to me, it just wasn't worth the amount of rehearsal that went into it where you're not, I would rather use that time to like perform and reach more people. And then at the same time, it also took me away from teaching. And I was really getting into teaching at the time and really realizing that just like you said, I think before we started, I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but
Yeah, go ahead.
you had said that you felt, that maybe your energy could best be spent on another path or in another direction and you could reach more people in that way. I felt like, the concept of the musical is pretty cool, but I felt like I was watching a real tangible thing happen with my students. And I was like, wow, I'd rather put my energy at that. And then while I'm doing that, like doing this Displace thing and that instead of the whole go to New York and just try to do this musical thing again.
Right, right. No, that totally makes sense for sure, man. I can definitely appreciate that.
When
It's-
you said you were writing this and everything like that, had you had any experience doing musical theater or like being in plays growing up or nothing?
Nothing.
That's
I
crazy.
Actually, another just like bizarre sort of thing, sort of like how I got into music in the first place. I was at USF. I was doing the chamber singers, and my choral director there, and it was also my first year ever. I never did choir through like middle school or high school or anything. I just kind of like jumped into this thing. And he was like, oh, they're doing a musical. You should go audition. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I've never done a musical. I've never read lines before. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, no, just like show up. And I did. I walked up. I sang Let It Be. And it was the musical Hair, which is like a rock musical. And I had long hair at the time. And so they were like, oh, yeah, I got the lead just kind of like walking on audition. And I was like, dude, I literally don't read lines. And I told him that. I was like, at the audition, I was like, okay, I'll read this thing. And I felt like weird. And I was very uncomfortable, and I was like, it felt strange getting the lead, and there was this other dude that was all pissed off because he was like for sure gonna get it because he's like, where did this guy come from? He's not a theater kid, like what the hell? And but it ended up that the character was so very much like me, just sort of a slightly more psychedelic version of myself that I didn't really have to act, and I just kind of I was just myself on stage, So I wouldn't even say that I like acted at all. You know what I mean? Like I was just me.
Right.
And pretty much the dean of the honors college at USF saw that performance and he said, hey, how would you like to write a musical? And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, and he didn't know what he was asking at the time and I didn't know what I was agreeing to, but I was like, yeah, I guess I'll write a musical, sure. And so I did as my honors thesis. I just started like taking some theater. I took like a couple theater writing classes and whatnot and studied some works and I had a lot of ideas in my head that were kind of driving me crazy at the time, and it ended up being like the perfect outlet to just kind of unleash them, get them out.
That's awesome. And were you able to delegate some of the responsibility out once it kind of started becoming like a like a physical, living, breathing thing. It was no longer just in your head, and these were songs you had written. Obviously, there has to be a show now as well, right? And you start delegating out responsibilities. Like, what was that like?
It was actually great because I didn't end up telling anybody to do anything. Like, I just said, what would you do, or what do you think is the best thing? So I really can't even talk about it in terms of without describing everything that everyone else did. I mean, I didn't write any vocal harmonies to it. And my buddy Brendan was like, there's no harmonies in your musical. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And he was like, I'm making harmonies. So he just started having people sing harmonies and stuff. And that's what ended up on the record. A lot of times, like, the lines that I wrote, just like when they started actually running through them, they were like, I don't think I would say that at all. And I was like, so don't say it. Say what do you think you should say? So the characters like improvised lines and added their own stuff. And I think that's something that I totally stole from Andy Fry, who directed Hair. He would kind of loosely stage us, and he would just let us sort of fall into what felt comfortable. And so I took that approach to Inertia. And then now, as my role has kind of shifted in Displace into, I hate to use the term, but more of like I guess you call a band leader, whatever. I don't really tell anyone what to do ever. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, hey, maybe here's some chords, maybe, I don't know, or not. You know, maybe this is a groove or not, you know, and you give people an idea of what it could be, but then you always allow them the ability to be themselves in that, like, playing that part. And I think that that's how people, you know, can very naturally convey and express in their own voice the idea or whatever you may have written, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love that, man, for sure. I feel like that's like the best way to let the creative process thrive is like coming with a little nugget of an idea and then letting everybody kind of put their frills on it, you know?
Yeah, Joel told us that.
Yeah.
Joel Cummins, Humphreys McGee, we got him on a little while ago, and he was saying that he would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? And we would he would write songs, but he would like purposely not finish them.
Yeah.
And then bring that unfinished song to the band so that they could finish it together and everything like that.
Totally. I love that dynamic. I feel like that's where the kind of democracy within a band kind of lies, is in the creative process, you know? It's like I feel like that's what helps keep the music interesting, for sure.
We did that so many times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. You're like, you need to play something like this. I'm like, no. There's
Yeah.
no way I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Like doing my own. And you're like, all right, it's better. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
damn right, it's better.
Totally, yeah, totally. I love that. I want to get so much more into this dynamic because I want to talk more about what Displace has going on right now. But before we do that, we should get into Bottom of the Billboard.
Okay.
Which is a segment that we review. Now we've changed it up a little bit. We used to just kind of like recommend a song to listen to, review it, and see if it makes it on the playlist. And that was fun. But
Now we let fate decide.
Now we let fate decide, and we review whatever songs on the actual literal bottom of the Billboard top 100, the song that is at the 100 spot, and it's been quite an interesting experience to do so. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it.
Well,
to be
he
honest.
enjoys that.
So today's song is.
I can't remember the name of the song, but I remember all three people that are in the song.
It's what's it called, Chris? What did I say it was called?
Staying Alive.
Staying Alive.
Yeah, it's the Bee Gees.
No, you're good, Chris. You're good. You're good.
They're coming back.
Yeah, Underdoll or Sgammato. Which one we got to go with? Underdoll. We're calling you Underdoll. Chris, we're calling you Chris. That's what we're doing.
Deal with that.
All right. So, Staying Alive, written by DJ Khaled, Drake, and Lil Baby, and the Bee Gees actually got writing credits on it too.
How?
It's pretty wild.
Wait, did they really get it?
Yeah.
Right, because they used it as the chorus. They used the two words "staying alive."
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
They got credit, but it's like two of them are dead also, so it's kind of like a weird.
What?
And then it's produced by Nyan and Tim Subi. I don't know who any of those people are, but what did you guys think of the song?
I thought it's a nice little club banger. I mean, it's Drake.
Yeah.
So, like, it's always going to be popular. I did time it. It might be the world record for how long it takes DJ Khaled to say his name on a DJ Khaled song.
Yeah.
28 seconds.
28.
28 seconds. Yeah. You can go back and fact check me on that one. But overall, it's all right.
They had a fade out.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's because it's like a DJ song, so they want to, like, put it together or something. I don't really know.
Remix it.
But I hate fade outs in songs, lazy writing. But I don't hate this song, but like it's just kind of just.
What do you think, Chris?
I
Did you
don't
get a
know.
chance to listen to it?
No, I'll be honest. I saw Drake and I was like, I'm not putting that in my ears. I'm sorry.
Right.
Okay. So, it's
What
interesting.
does DJ Khaled do?
I'm-
no,
I'm-
in the song.
I don't know, I'm very curious myself.
Because it said it wasn't produced by him, but it was written by him.
Yeah, he's got a writing credit.
Maybe
He wrote the chorus or something. I don't know.
But he didn't write the chorus. The Bee Gees wrote the
Well,
chorus.
no, they took one line from a Bee Gees song,
like the most famous Bee Gees song.
but like there's other parts of the chorus. It's not just the one line. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And he probably wrote that line and then was like, yeah, but someone was probably like, you can't just use that line. You gotta give credit to people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the process. I don't know what the process was, but I don't know. I'll say lyrically, I thought it was a little boring. It's just about like a relationship that changes because of their status.
Is that what it's about?
Yeah,
I
something.
thought it was just about banging.
That's what it's kind of like vague and unclear as to what the perspective
It's
is.
just
Is
banging
it like,
and then passing some chick around to the other writers of the song.
yeah, I know. It's
Between
kind of,
Lil Baby and Drake is what
Right.
I put it together.
so
And that's the most adorable name ever.
Lil Baby.
Lil Baby.
So
I'm gonna get shot up.
I
for
will
sure.
also say that I wasn't a big fan of the auto-tune thing when T-Pain came out. Like started making it like a mainstream.
I like auto-tune. That's one thing that we don't have in common.
Yeah. So I don't.
But
I
it
didn't-
sounds weird over rap.
Well, here's the thing: as I didn't like it when T-Pain started doing it like as a mainstream thing, like back in like what, like 08, 07, 08, and then I liked it even less when Lil Wayne started doing it. It like shortly after that as a rapper, and I hate it even more now that it's like in every popular rap song.
Sounds so good though.
It drives me up a wall, and I get that there's like the tedious nature of making autotune work, and whatever. Like I understand that there's a process there. I can't stand the end result of that
I
process.
hate the term auto-tune because it's a fucking vocoder, and that's what they should be called, because auto-tuning is what they use in the studio to make you sound like you're in tune.
They're also using that same effect though to get this. They're not using a vocoder. It does
Are
a
you
different
talking about
thing.
like that T-Pain style
Yeah.
auto-tune?
Yeah.
No, that is 100% actually auto-tune. Like it's been noted that T-Pain goes around and tells people that it's a vocoder when it's straight up not.
Oh,
Well, he
really?
used
yeah,
to-
no, he's straight up. Yeah, he used to tell it, but it is auto-tune.
So they are different things.
Yeah.
Yes, the original
Okay.
sound.
So I was right about
yeah,
that
the,
anyways.
the original sound that like T-Pain style is just it's Antares auto-tune, and you just set there's like essentially a setting that determines like how fast it goes between each note as it's auto-tuning. And if you
Oh.
set it to 0, it just immediately jumps and it gives you that weird robotic.
Yeah.
Like that's how. It works.
Yeah, it's dope as shit. I love it.
Yeah, it's whatever. Like it does. It like I get what T-Pain was doing, and it was
I'm a
like,
big Daft Punk fan though, so
well, I get what like T-Pain was doing and trying to, he was making like his unique stamp on music, and it's fine. It's just when they started using it in rap, I can't get into it, and I hate
it's weird. It's
I hate it
it's a
even more
little
now.
weird.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is like we listen to Drake's verse, like at least the words that he's saying, you can kind of. He's not of the mumble rap era. Drake is like from when we were in high school.
He's from the Hotline Bling era.
So it's like his verse probably comes out a little bit more cohesive and coherent in general. I don't know what the fuck Lil Baby's trying to say.
I
half
read the
time.
lyrics.
No, so did I. That's
Yeah.
that. But it's just like, not even just lyrically is he mumbling the stuff, but it's also like, I don't like the cohesiveness or the coherence of the what he's actually trying to say is
Give
more
him
vague.
a break. He's just a little baby.
Oh man.
So stupid.
So anyways,
Love it or hate it.
I mean, the product
I hate you, Billy.
Oh, fucking get out of my goddamn house. How about that?
Produce your own podcast. Oh, we saw how that went.
Oh, guess what? I did it for 2 years before you. Catch you later.
anyways, the production of the song overall, I thought was fine. There was no beat, nothing about the production that really stuck out or made it like.
I don't think
interesting.
we should start talking about the production anymore, because like that's like applauding a fish for swimming at this point. If you fuck that up, like come on.
Well, because there's some production like techniques that are cool and that really added the song. There was
All
nothing
right.
about this that stood out to me at all.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say no. The song, I did not like it at all.
And it was, would you say it was at number 5 on the
It
Billboard.
topped out at number 5 on the Billboard charts,
and
which is
now
kind of
it's
wild.
and now it's on its way out. I've been seeing a lot of that actually. That from these Billboard. We're just seeing them on the
way out.
on the-
Yeah,
we haven't gotten one that's on the way up yet.
right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But at least it's on there.
Yeah. It was at number 5. So
Number 5.
That's
And
pretty wild.
okay, going back one more time. What does DJ Khaled do again?
He probably wrote the hook or something. I don't know. He's got writing credits on it, so
But what does he do though?
he wrote the hook. I don't know.
All right, whatever.
Like-
I just want to figure out what he
Made
does.
the beat.
Yeah.
But did he make the beat? If he made the beat, he
I
made the
have
beat.
no
That's
idea.
cool.
Probably not.
He
I
didn't.
mean, you did say he said his name, right? I
28
mean, that's kind of
seconds.
a big deal.
yeah.
28 seconds in, he waited. He
Man.
waited a little bit.
That right there
That's
is
28 seconds of anticipation, and then you finally get it, and you're like, yes.
You know it's gonna happen.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
want-
at this point he just brings status. Like
That's
that-
all it
All
is.
it is he says his name and instantly like at least 1 million people
And
are gonna
that's
listen
fine.
to it, and that's what he gets paid
But
for.
what if we're wrong and he's a fucking genius and he like wrote everything?
No, that's no. I mean, it could be.
Have
but
you
I don't
seen
know.
the video of him playing acoustic guitar?
No.
Yeah, he's pretty good, right?
Yeah, he's not a genius.
No, I've seen that's really bad.
That's the only reason why I think this song got to number 5. There was nothing there was nothing musically or talent wise that got it to where it was. It was just you had Drake, Lil Baby, and DJ Khaled on a track together,
The big 3.
and that's the only reason why I got to number 5.
It sounds like every other song I've heard from any of these artists for the last 8 years probably.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
It's just like I feel like I'm like, oh yeah, this song probably you could have told me this song came out 5 years ago. And
But
I
does
would've believed
DJ
you.
Khaled have songs? Or like, did he write any of them?
He makes a
He's
lot
got
of beats.
12 albums.
He makes
He has 12 albums.
he makes a lot of beats. He probably writes hooks.
Does he
probably
write?
helps
Does
write.
he?
Yeah, I don't know.
You
the full-
you just think he does.
I know that he makes beats for sure.
Then did he make the beat of this song?
He wasn't named as a producer, so I don't know.
That's fucking wild. How did they land that? That's the best gig on the planet. Just scream your name every 30 seconds. I mean,
He-
Lil Jon's the king of that. He kind of started it, but at the same time, like
DJ
he
Khaled,
he doesn't even say anything funny. He just says his name.
he's got his own work ethic. That dude is not lazy. You know what I mean?
I never
Like,
said he was lazy.
Yeah, he works hard. You know what I mean? But yeah, all he has to do is just shout his name on a song, and it just goes number 1 in the charts.
dude.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's
dope.
like Pitbull, too. Like, every time I'm in the gym, like, every third song I hear, this is worldwide. And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is Pitbull. Okay.
Yeah, well, talk about a marketing genius there. He was Mr. 305 because he's from Miami, and then he's changed to Mr. Worldwide. It's just like that was. I don't know what the foresight was on that, but he crushed that. Like that was a smart move.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think he should have worked his way up. Like be Mr. like Florida, and then be Mr. Southeast United States.
yeah, Southeast United
And
States.
then be Mr. North America, and then Mr. Worldwide. He kind of skipped a couple steps.
Yeah, I mean, it's and being from South Florida, like that first album that came out, the MIAMI, which
He's
is
from South Florida?
the acronym from Money is a Major Issue. He had some bangers on that album. That was a good one.
Subjective.
For sure. If you're not from Miami, you're not gonna like get the references. So it's like it doesn't hit the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like not being from Jacksonville and not listening to Freebird every day.
No, that song. Everyone loves that song for some reason. Anyways,
Oh, my God.
anyways, for that song, for Staying Alive, thumbs down,
Thumbs
100%
down.
on the playlist. Not going on.
Real quick before we wrap it up, how many plays did it get on Spotify? Just curious. For the folks at home.
I would say well over.
Oh, you want to bet
million.
over under?
I would say over 500 million.
I'm gonna say 1.6 billion.
Really?
Yeah.
Or then we're
Whoa.
both right. Then we're both right if that's the case.
No, I'm just like guessing. I don't know. It's a crazy guess. If Anton gets it before you, you're fired.
How much was it, Chris?
I'm looking at 207 million.
207 million.
Okay, so we're both wrong about that.
Yeah.
Either way, it's still fucking numbers that nobody here's put up, so we can't totally judge too hard. But anyways, all right, so let's wrap that section up. We moved on over it, off the playlist,
Yeah.
not happening. Let's get back to some real music, some real good music anyways. Displace, you guys got a bunch of shit going on. Let's talk about what's been going on over the last few years and what's kind of led you up to this point now.
Yeah. So yeah, we dropped the first album. We dropped the second album. Our old guitar player Sam Dobkin left to go become the Mr. Worldwide in his own way. Trivecta. He's a super incredible EDM producer. He actually just played EDC last weekend, which is like really dope, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. I'm so proud of him, so stoked for him. Like it's really great. So, yeah, and pretty much after he left, we were like a 3-piece band for a little while, and functionally just like rotating or displacing guitar players, if you will. And then somewhere, I don't know, we were sort of a 3-piece outfit for a couple years, and then 2019. We actually had a pretty significant event where Tucker and Vinny, who'd kind of been like, they were kind of like done, like, and they kind of had been for like a long time, and then they just kind of made it official. And so I started rehearsing with Evan Tebow, who's my longtime buddy, and we played in bands together, but nothing like crazy serious. He came from a metal band called Akeldama that like toured Europe and stuff. Definitely a very strong gent metal background. Was my roommate for a long time. We used to like teach together also. He's a super awesome dude. And then also, I don't know if you guys know Chris Barbosa. He plays violin and keyboards and all kind of really great stuff.
Yeah, no, I know him.
Yeah, so pretty much like 2019, I kind of started focusing on, like, I bought a house and like kind of was trying to get my school together and all this stuff. I had a lot going on, which I'll totally give you guys a tour in a minute because it's pretty dope.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so we pretty much started writing, and I had all these ideas in my head, and I had this idea of like a double concept EP that was kind of gonna build off of the previous 2 albums, and we started jamming them out together. And as I said, like the process is very much collaborative. Like I have an idea of what, like, the way something might go, and then maybe it doesn't or whatever. And there were a lot of parallels with some things that I was experiencing in my life at the time. I did have to move abruptly out of my old house, and I was kind of in this like really rough spot. And because I do teach out of my house, so, you know, suburban soccer moms aren't gonna drop their kid off at some sketchy apartment. Like there's you know, you gotta have a like reasonably nice-ish house. And so obviously I couldn't afford one on a musician's, you know, wages. And so it helped to have roommates. But the paradox was, who's gonna be roommates with a guy that's got, you know, kids coming in and out of the house making loud racket at all hours of the night? So,
Right.
So it was a rough time. And then my family kind of stepped up and like, all right, we're gonna help you get a house. And I thought I was gonna get this one, and I was like super stoked on it. And we were gonna go look at it the next day on a Friday. And I'll never forget it because Thursday night, my realtor messages me and she's like, hey, did you like go with someone else to buy your house? Because like it's on the market. And I was like, no. So anyway, I was all bummed out, and I go, this house had just been on the market like that day, and I was able to scoop it up, turn it into a studio and all this stuff. And so I had been in this like really impossible, sort of hopeless situation, and the music I was writing at the time very much reflected that. And I didn't ramble too much about it, but long story short, the second album, Undertow, is sort of about having recently had that light bulb moment, and then it kind of carrying you off. Like if you can imagine in this sort of massive psychedelic Archimedes, you know, with the water overflowing from this massive tub, and it's this giant tide, and you're just kind of riding it to these really cool places. But for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and so the tide might take you to these cool places, but inevitably the undertow will come and kind of like suck you away from them, such as life. It's like a sine wave. There's positive and negative, and they more or less even out, I think. And so at the end of the second album, Undertow, it sort of culminates in a descent into madness in the form of the song The Flight of Admiral Archibald. And it's sort of existing in these two worlds where they're sort of growing and feeding each other until they feed on each other and like cannibalize each other. And so sort of grappling with this, like, is this working out? Is this not? And maybe it's like a dream, like a relationship or a dream job or whatever it is. And so when the third album starts, so the double concept EP is called Accidental Necessity. And that's kind of where I was when I started writing with them in 2019, which we pretty much like hammered this out in like a year. It was ridiculous how fast it all popped out. And so it starts with like the first song, Redefine. It's sort of, it's there's this bandage that's the only thing that's holding you together, but and you know that you need to rip it off, but if you do, you might fall apart. And so the second song, Caverns, is sort of inspired by underwater cave diving. And so if you can imagine, I don't know if you've ever seen videos of it, it's actually pretty inspiring. Like you watch people floating through these like beautiful underwater things where they're kind of like half dead the whole time, because if they freak out or panic, they can kick up silt and blind themselves. And, you know, and unlike with like open water scuba diving, you can just float to the top. Like you can't do that. And, you know, and so it sort of is a parallel for this, the deep recesses of like your subconscious and wandering for this like answer. And then the third track, Crippling Self-Doubt, is pretty self-explanatory. It's the sound of a panic attack, basically. And then the fourth song, Last of Their Kind, is probably the heaviest shit we've ever done. It's like a straight up like metal song. It's something Humphreys would do, and I'm super stoked about it. It's the most non-Displace song we've ever put out, and I'm like all about it. And it gets pretty dark and heavy. I scream on it a little bit. Like it's like weird, man.
I love it.
And it's in 7, so we have like a bunch of songs in 5, 6, 7, like odd meters, really funky stuff. It's just dark and twisted. The next song, Scarecrow, which is the single we just dropped, and it's inspired by a scarecrow that's in love with a crow and sort of just being hopelessly drawn to this thing that your very nature is designed to repel. And then the song Rabbit is sort of something that it's a little heavy, I think, for artists, but it was duly inspired by Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. But also, I don't know if you guys have you ever seen the show Westworld?
Oh yeah, I love that show.
So season 1, episode 5, Dr. Ford, I don't think I'm spoiling anything. Season 1, episode 5, Dr. Ford delivers this monologue, and it's really wild. And he talks about how his parents had adopted this like retired racing greyhound. And this greyhound had been conditioned to just run in circles its entire life, chasing this piece of felt made to look up like a rabbit. And so he takes it to the park one day, and his parents are like, hold on tight, because that thing's fast. And the dog sees a real rabbit for the first time in his life. And so he breaks free from the leash, bolts after this rabbit, and to the shock and horror of everyone at the park, finally catches this rabbit and just rips it apart, tears it to shreds, and then just kind of stares down looking at it like, shit, like now what do I do? And I feel like that's what I did as a musician, sort of coming out of college, thinking like, oh, what now? Like there was always this like next step, like you leave elementary, you go to middle, you leave middle, you go to high school, you leave high school, you go to college, like, and then there's just this, what do I do, you know? And then sort of like living the dream, you know, I'm playing 7 gigs a week, I'm still broke as shit, I couldn't be working harder, and I'm like really depressed and like grappling with this sort of, you know, is this really what I wanted, to be a musician? You know, like this is a hard life, you know, and I think everybody's at some point will come to that sort of realization and just, you know, this sort of doubt. And like, man, like I was chasing this thing my entire life so much that it became my very identity and the fiber of my being. Like you can't see me without thinking of music. You know, this is who I am, it's what I am, and I don't even know what that is anymore. You know, and that's what Rabbit's about. And then the last song, Saving Myself, is just sort of starting to, like, knowing that you're not okay, but sort of starting to appreciate that maybe you will be, you know, and that things maybe like all this crap that you went through like kind of needed to happen. And so that's the third album, Accidental. And then the second half, I promise things get brighter, and it's like, you know, typical Displaced like indie rock, funk fusion stuff again. But this next album is like really dark and twisted, and it's basically the sound of 2020. And I think that as shitty as 2020 was, I think there was some good that came from it for some people who were, you know, I had a lot of friends that got like drunk 7 nights a week and just spent 12 hours a day on social media screaming at people. And I don't think that did a good goddamn thing for anybody. And then I have some friends that like got clean. You know, they started going to the gym and eating right and like working out and like taking care of themselves. And if you were open to keeping, you know, to improving yourself and improving the world around you when you went through all that stuff, like some people came out better. And anyway, that's what that record sort of does, is I don't think that you can properly appreciate, just like a sine wave, like you can't properly appreciate the positive unless you know what the negative is. Like the worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you. You know what I mean? And whether that is like your best friend of your lifelong best friend dying in a horrific motorcycle accident, or like, oh, someone told you no in Starbucks and now you're freaking out on them because you're a, you know, upper middle class soccer mom with no problems. You know, like the worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you. And that is the foundation on which you will base your highs and lows on that. And then your high is high and low, and that range is how you have a frame of reference for what your reality is. And so Accidental Necessity is sort of about appreciating that dark, heavy shit and appreciating how it helps you appreciate the light, awesome stuff. And that's the necessity part. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, man. I love that. I mean, it's cool that you're able to kind of think about things at that level and then kind of make them into songs, you know what I mean? Because like there's got to be like a distillation process that happens between the full concept and then how do we make it work in this context. And so I'm curious as to what the, musically what the writing process was like, and then also lyrically what that writing process was like,
Yeah, sure. Musically, this is kind of my favorite part, actually. As I said, I had like an idea of, and it's actually still on my whiteboard, and there's 7 songs on Accidental, 7 on Necessity. And as we were kind of jamming, I would have these ideas, and I'd throw them out to the guys, and sometimes they just didn't stick. And it was like we just all weren't feeling it. No one could really make it work. And so there were times where I would record like a scratch, like drum, bass, guitar, piano, like sort of vocal thing with no words over it. It sounded really weird. And I'd be like, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What do you think? And then sometimes they'd be like, cool, but let's make it better. Like, let's make it not shitty. And then they did. And then sometimes it just, we would be, in between jamming or whatever, or like warming up, doing a sound check. And then, I'd be getting the inputs set. And then Barbosa would just play this like killer piano riff, and then they're jamming, and I just hit record, and I'm like, what was that? Like, let's write that. And so actually a good chunk of the songs on this record we actually removed ideas that I had and replaced them with songs that we organically kind of wrote together. Actually, that happened on several of the songs. I mean, Crippling Self-Doubt was our old bass player Nate's original composition that he just sort of like wrote on the spot with us, and we developed as a band. Last of Their Kind was a song that Barbosa had in 7, and we're like, that's so cool. And a lot of the stuff on the next record actually contains material from like Daryl McGowan, like D Truth, our new bass player. He wrote the song Forgive and Forget, and I had an idea there, and he's like, what he had was so much cooler, and he's like, nah, fuck my shit, man, let's throw yours in there. Like, this is beautiful,
That's awesome.
So it's very much a collaborative thing, man. Even if I had like an idea that was like, here's what I'm thinking, there's not a single song on that record that I can say that I wrote all of, like not even close. I mean, Evan would say like, yeah, okay, let's put some hits there, or like well, you guys know how it is when you're jamming something, like over time it evolves and like hits develops and accents and whatnot. Like lines kind of happened, and then we were like, oh, let's make that a unison thing or whatever it was. It was very much like every single song is a collaborative endeavor for sure. That process was really special. And I will say, I think that's something I was really craving for a long time that I wasn't getting it, I would say, I guess, in the past. And now I am. And that makes me grateful, for what I have now. And also it makes me grateful for what I didn't have back then, And I think that's sort of the most powerful part of the whole experience. And you can copy paste what I just said to any number of experiences, whether it's a former relationship or a job or whatever, like, there's some shit that you have to go through to help you understand like what you have in this moment. Or maybe you're going through some shit in this moment and it'll help you to appreciate what's gonna happen later on in those other moments. So,
right.
Anyway.
What I'm curious as to what if you when you have kind of the perspective of obviously like writing now versus writing back then, and kind of going through the growing pains of cycling through musicians and like forming new relationships. I'm curious, what's kind of been the learning process for you in the whole thing? Because obviously, as a band, it sounds like you don't like the term band leader, but it kind of is what it is when the thing kind of revolves around what you're doing. What's kind of been the learning curve for you about like, I guess, communicating with different artists and figuring out like what the right writing circumstances are based on each personality and stuff? Like, how have you kind of navigated that terrain?
I think, a big part of it is just decoding personalities, because different people speak different languages, even if we're all speaking English, And so sometimes you might be with someone who, for example, doesn't really communicate what they're actually feeling like ever, or maybe they can write it down, but they can't say it to your face. And so if you don't recognize and understand that, you will mistake, if they tell you everything's okay, but it's really not, and they're giving you obvious cues that it's not, but if you're not able to pick up on them, like that's gonna cause some friction. And so or I mean, there's a ton of other examples I guess I could think of. Some people are more direct and whatever, and so a big challenge I think is learning how people really communicate and not listening to necessarily what they're saying if they are less direct, and sort of listening to what they're inferring or what they're saying without saying. And so fortunately, I don't have to do that now, and I think that I'm just kind of dumb. I'll just perfectly honest, I'm very dumb. That's what it is. And that's on me, man, and that's something I've learned, is I'm just not very smart with a lot of things, man. I'm really not, and I'm totally down to say that. I'm also an asshole, you know?
Yep.
So sometimes I can be, man. I don't even realize that I'm just being one, and I think for me personally, I need people to be like, oh, dude, you're actually being a jackass. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, shit, you're like actually right. Like, I'm usually pretty good if you point it out to me, which I think is actually a product of growing up in the American public education system with multiple choice questions. If the answer is presented within a series of non-answers, I'll be like, oh, that's the one. But fill in the blank, I got nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so
Totally that.
So yeah, so that's the thing, and I think it's just being able to find people who are on the same page also, that really want to create and write, and you know, everybody's going through different phases of their life, and if one member, for example, is really into like writing and like let's make this our focus, like I've got things in my head that need to come out, but maybe another member is like, I could take or leave that, you know, I don't really need that to express myself musically, I just need to make, you know, to play songs. Maybe that's like, even if it's just cover stuff, like I have plenty of people that are totally content with that, and I was too for years, and I still can sometimes, you know, I'm still playing music, it's a paycheck, it keeps the lights on, you know, so some people like to make original music, they don't like to travel in a van for 12 hours and go on the road and everything that comes with that, you know, so to be able to get, you know, people who are all on the same page as you at the same time as you, and also understanding that those pages are turning and time is turning, you know, and moving, and things are just constantly changing. You have to either adapt and grow, or maybe you guys grow apart or whatever it is, and that's why lineups change all the time, you know. So yeah, as far as the current status, it seems like we've all kind of landed, at least at this point in time, on the same page. We're all kind of like, okay, writing's our main focus, like putting music out is our main focus. We're down to go on the road, you know, which we have some dates coming up next year, which I'm pretty stoked about, crossing state lines again. And
Can you announce them?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in we'll be in Asheville at the end of January. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Where are you guys gonna
the
be
last
at?
weekend of January. I'm really dumb, and so we're gonna be at Highland Brewing Friday, January 27th, and we'll be at One World Brewing Saturday, January 28th, and then we will be at Sweetwater Brewing in Atlanta on January 29th.
Hell yeah.
So-
Highland's a dope spot. We played there last year.
Is that the one that's the big one that's outside?
Yeah, like the meadow stage.
It used to be a film studio, actually.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't read the back of the menu?
No, I didn't look at the menu.
No,
at
I'm
all.
sorry. I could have made that way funnier. You didn't read the napkin dispenser?
No, I didn't.
All right. Anyways, but yeah, it's awesome. It's gonna be a little cold in January. That's for it to be outside, but they have a huge stage inside too.
Yeah, it's a dope venue though. And which Westworld are you, or Westworld? Which One World are you playing? The West Asheville or downtown?
I think it's the West Asheville one.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good. I mean,
That's a good one. The other one's in a
great-
basement.
They're great They're both great locations, but the West Asheville one is definitely
It's better.
It's outdoors and it's like a different vibe. It's less of a touristy vibe and more of like a family, like,
And it's not in a basement.
Music. Yeah, but yeah, you just get more music appreciators there, I think, than the downtown location, which gets like, you know, wedding parties and tourists that just want to hear.
yeah, I got you.
Brown-Eyed Girl, which, by the way,
What about it?
there was nothing funnier. Not to like completely derail, just a little fun fact about that song. We were playing a gig the other night, and we just got done like crushing a jam. It was a really good jam that we were doing.
I had a great show.
And yeah, it was a fun show.
Yeah, I know.
And this lady walks up to us and just so confidently, and while also dismissing what we just did, just this kind of air of like, I don't care who you are, play Brown-Eyed Girl. And then she kept like, and it just like walks away as she said it, like, we're just gonna play it. At that, she just knew, like, she had just pressed play in the jukebox so confidently, and I was like, we don't do that song. And she was like, "Oh, you don't?" They got like really like annoyed by it. And I was like, and the guy
Oh,
starts
wow.
making a little face about it, and I was like, "Yeah, we don't do that song." And just like nothing gave me more pleasure in that moment than to tell her that, because of how at her disposal she just felt that we were in that moment. I was like, "Fuck you, lady."
Wow.
And anyways, those venues are dope. You guys are gonna have a lot of fun there, I'm sure.
Yeah, man.
Cool.
And I'm so sorry if you said this and I skipped over it with my ADHD rattled brain. But did you say the album that you were talking about, the Necessity and oh my God, I already forgot the other part of it. Is that coming out soon or is that already out?
Yeah, so we've been dropping pretty much a single a month since September, and then the album actually comes out on December 6th, which is the day before my birthday. So it's like the best release ever.
Oh,
so I'm
fuck
pretty
yeah.
stoked.
And this podcast, I think,
Yeah.
comes out December 2nd, Chris? Is that what we said?
Second.
Chris? Yeah, so dope. This will be perfect timing to help
Yeah.
advertise, hopefully, a little marketing
Oh,
stuff for you
I'm
guys.
so stoked.
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
our album release show is Saturday, December 10th at the Crowbar in Tampa. That's gonna be a good time. That's
Fuck
gonna be
yeah,
really
man.
good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What,
yeah, I'm very excited.
So you guys trying to take this project out on the road and like actually do like, you know, I don't know if like longer touring stuff is really the way to go always now, but are you guys trying to like kind of do the 2 weeks up and down the East Coast type situation, or what's the plan?
Yeah, I would say that I've always kind of from the beginning, my vision hasn't really changed. I don't really want to be, I mean, maybe it has, I've kind of scaled it down a little bit. I don't want to be a nationally touring band. I'm not even saying that we have the potential to do that, but I don't even want to explore it as an option. I don't want to get in the van and drive and live on the road. Like I did that for one summer in 2017. I was on dual tours with the Hip Abduction and Displace, and I was only gone for like a month and a half. And I realized after just that month and a half, I was like, this is not for me. Like I love being on the road, don't get me wrong, but I miss my students. And I love teaching, I really do. They're like, you know, I see my students more than I see my mom, my dad, my brother, slightly less than I see my girlfriend. You know, they are like some of them are my best friends, and I've been teaching them, some of them for like 8, 9, even 10 years. A lot of them, even after they go on to graduate. You know, like I said, like Evolution, like we're collaborating now, and he's actually started saxophone lessons with me now, and he's like an adult, you know.
That's
or like
awesome.
Kayla Blackman, Cody Samuano actually he's up in Nashville now. He graduated from Belmont with a degree in commercial music, and we had a gig in Atlanta our keyboard player couldn't make, and he drove over from Nashville, and he was the fill-in keyboardist, and he did great. You know, so I have these relationships with these people that start off as students and then they grow up into adults and they're like their extended family, you know, and I do miss them on the road. And I love the kind of routine and stability of just, oh, on Tuesdays, you know, I'm going to see Alley Cat, you know, like, oh, Thursdays at 4 o'clock, I'm going to see Hannah. It just kind of helps me to keep, you know, in an otherwise chaotic world, the redundancy even, or the routine of lessons, you know, at those specific days and times kind of helps me to stay grounded so I don't just drift off into, you know, la la land.
Right.
So yeah, to answer, I guess, yeah, I want Displace to be no more than a regional act. I'm perfectly content not going any further than North Carolina, and maybe not even, I don't think we need to go out to Colorado again. You know, I'd like to cover Florida and like the Southeast, you know. I maybe stop somewhere between 305 and worldwide, like that next step.
Yeah.
I'd like us to be the Misters Southeast.
Mr. South, yeah, you're right.
That's such a great album. I'm sure Pitbull's probably thought about it, somewhere between 305 and worldwide.
That'll probably be like his
Yeah.
retirement album. It's called. He'll be
Fort
like,
Yeah.
Pierce.
he'll be.
Yeah.
Great city.
So do you want to? I'm just always curious about this kind of stuff because like there is so much time and effort and even, you know, money put into these projects, especially because, you know, we're not operating in New York and LA and Nashville where there's all this, you know, label money being pumped into projects. Most of the stuff is like self-funded and like we're kind of, you know, on our own timelines and setting our own deadlines and all that stuff. Do you care to see any kind of return on the Displace stuff, and that like financially and otherwise? And if so, if touring isn't the route for you guys, what route do you see being like going to be the thing for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I do want to definitely tour a little bit. Like I said, like we call them tourettes. So we want to have tourettes, and we want to do like 10-day runs a couple times a year. Like I do still want to go out and see friends like around those places. As far as financially, yes, it would be great to recover from this because this thing was expensive, man. And I kind of I ended up fronting it kind of a lot with the school, and it was a lot. I don't want to do that again. It'd be nice to have some help with that,
Right.
which we didn't really do a fundraiser or anything. So maybe we'll ask with this next one. I don't know. I don't really care if I fully recover from it. I don't have any aspirations to make any more than fractions of pennies from our Spotify streams. I don't. That's not really as important to me, to be honest. The main thing was just like with Inertia, with my musical, like I have ideas in my head, and if they don't get out, I will go crazy. And they were locked in my head, bouncing around, rattling around between my ears and the empty space of my skull. And if they didn't get out, I would have gone nuts. And I want to do that with people who I love and who can, express them in the way that they need to be expressed. And that they feel like they've also, made it their own and that we put out together. It's very important to me. That's kind of everything. So as far as the financial side, yeah, it'd be nice to break even at least. That's a pretty, that would take a lot of streams, to be honest. But, it's a costly thing, as you said. But, yeah, if we do, cool. If not, cool. It's out at least the first half is out. And then, we do have some ideas to do like a lo-fi album. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this yet, but we're, after we finished Necessity, the 4th album, we really get into like lo-fi music and just like very poorly recorded. Like, I'm talking like, I don't want to have like more than one mic on the drums and just maybe even someone's holding it in their hand. like just really DIY, like lo-fi stuff. And, we were talking about that, or maybe like a breakbeat album. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do after. And then if we, if we are doing our little tours as we're doing them, I don't know, man. I don't like the TikTok thing. I don't like the social media thing. I really hate it. I do. I made a TikTok. I made some little videos that were fun, but because I actually write, record, and release original music like all the time, and I don't tell anybody. I make a fake name on Spotify. It's a real name, I guess it's a pseudonym, and I just release music. And I have lo-fi artist names. I have like jazz fusion stuff where I'm like drumming, playing bass, guitar, keys, sax stuff, instrumental, like acoustic guitar stuff. And I don't tell anybody about that. Nobody knows. And it's like my own little secret, and it's beautiful. And so it's sort of a reaction kind of to this, it's not stupid, but it's a reaction to this social media sort of virus where as an artist, your authenticity is at stake because you're just constantly chasing, oh, I gotta post, I gotta make a video, I gotta, oh, we're doing this thing, and you're having this authentic creative experience, and then you're like, wait, and then you're like, you gotta, the picture thing, and it's like, I don't like doing that, man, it ruins it for me. And so I actually, so much so I don't like it that I as I said, I make these like pseudonyms, and it's sort of rebelling against that, and nobody knows about it, and it's my own like therapy. It's like, that's right, I do this for me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I do it for some people that listen, but these tracks here are for me, and they're for me to make me feel good, and I don't have to feel like I need to pull out a phone every 5 seconds and document everything, So I don't think that we'll be a TikTok star, basically, is what I'm saying.
I think that's where it all went wrong. I was just thinking about all the TikTok stuff. Is probably the first person who ever used their phone to film a fireworks display.
Yeah.
And then ever since there, it's just been fucking downhill.
Yeah, I definitely think that social media has kind of watered down the artistic process.
There's a lot of good stuff too, and like a ton of great stuff and everything like that. But the fact that you like have to be married to it in order to be a musician really fucking blows.
Yeah, I don't know. The TikTok thing, I'm not sure how much you have to be married to it. I think that's a different
any type of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's Instagram and Facebook. Instagram more so because it's more relevant, but it's like not as demanding, I think, as TikTok is. TikTok is so demanding, and there's people like musicians that are younger that like have that have like kind of they've been growing up with this dynamic that context anyways, that can kind of navigate it and actually like document the recording process and then put that out as the content for TikTok, but then also create music that works, for them, that fulfills them artistically. I don't find that to be the case with TikTok, or for me anyways, having not grown up with that medium. It's always been like you're in the studio and you're putting your all into it all the time, and there's no distractions. And then it was like, well, now we have to document stuff with Instagram, but at least Instagram's not like we got to post 4 times a day, where TikTok is like you got to do that kind of thing to see any real traction. And it's
Just hearing the word algorithm makes me want to punch like a baby in the face.
yeah, I definitely feel what you're saying about the social media thing, though, and it's unfortunate that we have to kind of play the game a little bit.
That's all I'm saying.
I will say to what you're saying, though, Chris, is that Spotify is about to remedy this thing that you're talking about now, because we talked about it on the news segment last week.
Spotify starting a new TikTok.
No, Spotify.
Oh shit! No, I got that wrong.
That's good. Spotify is basically going to start charging people for their there's talk anyways. They're gonna start charging people for the space on their platform if they're not hitting certain numbers, because they're actually not able to keep up with the cost of their server space, basically to keep hosting 100,000 new uploads every single day. That's what they're
Wow.
and since YouTube and Apple and those other TikTok now is going to have their own streaming service, since those companies all have other revenue sources like videos, and Apple is what Apple is. The music is this tiniest part of their revenue stream, so they can just allow people to upload it whatever they want whenever they want. Spotify has one source of revenue, and that is streaming. So when there's 100,000 uploads every single day, it's costing them more money, and most of those streamers aren't generating anything in return. So they're actually going to start charging people. They don't know what the number is yet. They don't even know if it's true 100%. It's just speculation. But unless they find another source of revenue, they're going to start charging the artist to keep their music on the platform, which is kind of wild.
Yeah,
Wow.
I had like a
Don't
whole.
they have ads?
Yeah, I was about to say.
But-
I had a whole manifesto about how big of dicks they are for this, but
But ads aren't the
they also created it, so they can do what they want with it.
ads aren't the main source of their revenue, and also people aren't really spending a ton of money on Spotify ads, because you have to spend way too much money to see any kind of return on it, and we all know what streaming numbers do financially. Unless you're Taylor Swift, you're not seeing any return on your ad spends on Spotify.
Yeah.
So it's people are investing less and less on ad spends on Spotify.
I didn't tell you that story yet, did I?
What?
My girlfriend really loves Taylor Swift a lot, and she's playing in Tampa, the best city on the planet, right? And
Hell yeah.
so she's like, you need to sign up for the pre-sales so that you can get it, so one of us can get the pre-sale thing. And sure enough, she didn't fucking get it, but I did. So I waited 6 hours on Ticketmaster today to fucking buy Taylor Swift tickets.
Wow.
Tampa,
Wow.
see you soon.
Nice. I'll
Bill-
be there.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be there for real?
Actually, probably, yeah. I don't have a ticket, but if I can get one, yeah, I love Taylor Swift.
No shit.
Well, to each their
Oh,
own.
yeah.
Billy hates Tampa and Taylor Swift,
No.
so it'll be double doozy for him.
I hate Ticketmaster more than Taylor Swift, I will say.
So you hate Ticketmaster, Taylor
Yeah.
Swift, and Tampa, the 3 T's, what they call them.
I don't
And
I don't hate Taylor Swift. I just hate the fact that it's just nonsense trying to get a fucking ticket to go see her. I had to wait 6 hours.
Will you confirm or deny that you hate Tampa?
I fucking hate Tampa.
I was gonna say you haven't answered
Oh,
the
yeah.
question yet.
yeah, it's the worst city in Florida, if not the planet.
I like Tampa, so whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
What's your favorite
I
part?
can see why you would feel that way. It's okay.
I don't know Tampa well enough to say that I have a favorite part, but I do have enjoyed the little time that I have spent there. It's been
My favorite part is that really long bridge that gets you out of Tampa into St. Pete. St.
The
Pete
Howard
is
Franklin?
awesome.
Yeah.
Dunedin's
Yeah.
awesome. Clearwater, anywhere there is awesome. But yeah.
All right, well
Sorry.
let's get to our last couple of segments: bottom line news and unpopular opinions. For bottom line news, I don't know if you got a chance to check the bottom line news segment, Chris, but this week we're talking about nothing really super crazy, just how hard touring is becoming.
I thought it was very interesting, that article.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. First off,
Here we go.
Where did Lord go? Like, she was so popular with the Royal song and that whole album.
I just had this conversation with somebody recently.
And then she just like poofed, and now she's like back. And right before the pandemic, she was gonna go on tour, and then like went away. And then she's trying to do it again now, and it's too expensive.
Here's the thing: is that like, first off, artists like Lord a lot of time don't go anywhere. It's just that Jacksonville and cities alike are like C markets, and they're not hitting these cities.
She's going on like a world tour, and plus she's from New Zealand too, so she's got to like fucking fly like crazy.
I'm just saying that like Lord's still very relevant in like the major cities. She just hasn't maintained it in like smaller cities. Is all I'm trying to say.
What?
Second off, so she's been relevant the whole time. She hasn't gone anywhere. She's been relevant the whole time. Is what I'm trying to say.
I disagree.
Okay, and then so second off, I think it's interesting listening to kind of some of the struggles that they have on these tours, just being a smaller independent band and going on tour.
Wait, you're like tongue in cheek about this?
Not tongue in cheek about it. It's a very real struggle, and I feel for them because they have a business to run, and they have to they have overhead, and they have like people that they employ, and there's all this stuff that they're trying to do. It's great listening to from our perspective, where like we're worrying about like hotel rooms that we have to budget for and how we're gonna eat, and their thing is like, well, how do we get a stage from city to city? You know what I mean? It's
From
just
country to country.
Yeah, country to country. Yeah. It's I'm not like downplaying the severity of the scenario. Obviously, like they've got a status that they're trying to maintain. That's fine. It's wild to me to see the dynamic, like just the difference in what they're facing, you know. But it's crazy though, going back to what we're saying about like it's been a reoccurring theme on this podcast where touring is becoming more and more difficult. If you're not an artist at that level,
even if you are,
and even if you are, you're struggling. But like, if you're not like selling out at least theaters, amphitheaters, and above that, it's nearly impossible to really do any tour for any length of time. You're seeing smaller, even Umphreys is doing like 4-day runs, and they're going back. It's if you look at their schedule, it's like there's like
used to be like 5 nights a week,
right?
Like,
and now it's like a 4 or 5
play Jacksonville
day.
on Tuesday, 100%.
Yeah, and now it's mostly weekend dates and 4 or 5 days off, and then weekend dates somewhere else. It's like it's just becoming increasingly more difficult. Ticket sales are going up, and even though Ticketmaster's like reporting the highest earnings that they've ever had,
Go fuck yourself.
you know what I mean?
Ticketmaster.
It's just it's wild right now. Like artists are getting screwed at every level. It seems like, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's inflation is that, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I mean, my groceries at Publix have like, I wouldn't say doubled, but I mean, I feel it, you know. I don't have as much disposable income as I used to just a couple years ago.
Yeah, this guy's shopping at Publix, bro.
Yeah, do you got
God
Publix
damn,
money?
You got Publix money, bro?
Dude,
Fuck.
yeah, I got Publix money. Yeah.
This fucking guy, bro.
Yeah, we're going.
You get Greenwise brand or what?
Oh God, no, I don't know, none of that.
I'm borrowing a quarter to use the buggy at Aldi. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying?
what I'm saying. Yeah, like hustling the old
You
lady
an
for a
Aldi
quarter.
guy?
I'm an Aldi guy.
Hell yeah, you're an Aldi guy.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know that about you.
And we're all
But yeah,
learning.
I feel like that's definitely part of it for sure. I mean, I think people have a lot less disposable income, and also too from my friends that do own venues, like Tom DeGeorge from Crowbar. You know, he's been kind of sounding the alarm about that for a while. He's like, it's going to be a chain reaction, because what happens is you have these artists that they had these routes and these venues, like let's say to get to Tampa from, I don't know, like even a band in Asheville, there's connecting venues along the way that will feed them as they get down to Tampa.
Right.
But even if Tampa venues do okay, if all the routes on like connecting to get them here start to evaporate, they're not going to come here anymore. And so a lot of venues did close down, and a lot of established places with like built-in crowds, or like the people are just sort of accustomed to going to. I mean, you guys probably saw it the last couple of years, just venues closing down. I mean, I would hear about my friends posting stuff in some city in a venue I didn't know about, you know, but
yeah, we just
they were
lost.
like
we,
everyone's.
Yeah, what did we lose?
we just lost Archetype right now recently.
Yeah.
That's true.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Our boy Matthew and Preston and those guys over there. Connor losing their spot, which is a great venue here in Jacksonville. But yeah, we almost lost. I don't. What I shouldn't say it on air. There's almost several venues that we lost for sure during COVID.
Yeah, I mean, even if there's people that are going to the shows now, the losses are so devastating and so substantial that it'll take so long to recover, even if they had phenomenal sales the next like couple years.
Right.
That's how bad it was, you know. So even if they might have gotten some loans to like sort of float them maybe for like a month or so, but they were screwed for like a couple years.
And a lot of them are having to pay back those loans because a lot of them didn't qualify for the loan relief, and if you're not paying payroll and everything, which a lot of venues are, we see it all the time, like venues just like, contracting bartenders, it's like a fill-in bartender or whatever like that. You know what I mean? So I can imagine that's really difficult. And you even see from the artist's perspective, like even Lord in that article is talking about how they're having to like double or triple the amount of dates that they're doing per year now because of having lost 2 years, especially for the bigger cities. Most places weren't like Florida. We opened up after
That's
a few
the other
months.
thing too, because I don't know if it really said much about it in the article, but like, because they were like contracted to do those shows. Shows were canceled because of COVID. Now they got to do it when everything's 3 times more expensive.
And not just that, but then they have to double up because a lot of those shows are like owed to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And then you still got to make money, so you got to double up on those dates or triple on those dates. So like now maybe you had a city, maybe you had a year, of 150 cities or something, and then now you got to do like double that work in one year, or at least try and make up some of that, right? So even if it's like 50% of that, that's almost every single day that you're on tour. And granted, like artists at that level are touring much more conveniently than we are. However, it's still not being on the road is not easy. I don't care what level you're at. Like being in a different place every day, that's not an easy lifestyle,
Well, maybe that's what we need.
Yeah.
Just make the rich people actually start losing money and struggling, and then they're like, "Oh, we should probably change."
Well, the artists are the rich people
That's
too,
what I'm
right?
saying. Yeah.
I don't know. That's a whole different conversation. Just the idea now. I'm just curious as and even on top of that, with the way the industry has gone over the last 10 years, right? It's like they're not selling records anymore. So labels are recouping their investment on live shows and merchandise sales. So artists are losing it at every end now. You're not getting paid from record sales really because of the streaming stuff. You've lost out on tour income because first off, you had 2.5 years where you weren't working like you were before, and not to mention a chunk of that. Whereas before it wasn't going to labels because labels were recouping their investment on album sales. Now they're taking a piece of the tour and the merchandise too. So artists are getting like hit from every single angle here. So if you want to put on a show like Lord's trying to put on in every different city, you have to travel with your own production, and it's not going to be cost effective. I can imagine,
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just the industry sort of evolving to its next stage. So if you think back to like growing up, I remember we went to Play It Again video when I was a kid, and there was a little section with like the not stained glass, but where you can't see through it, and it was like pink on the inside with like the porno movies that you couldn't, I'd like peek my head under it when I was like 8, and that doesn't exist anymore. Like I remember, like, could you imagine imagine someone in maybe like, I don't know the year, I could be getting wrong, but maybe 2011. You have Netflix like on your phone that you can like cast to your TV, and your mom goes, "What do you want to watch tonight?" And you're like, "Oh, whatever the hell." And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna run to Blockbuster. I'll be right back." And you would be like, "That's such an antiquated thing. Why would you physically go to a location and then drive there and then deal with everything there and then come back when you could literally just push a button and have it here on your screen in like beautiful HD or like 4K stunning video?" And maybe that's unfortunately the next step. I mean, because a lot of my kids, man, they don't know, they don't watch TV. I mean, I haven't had cable since 2008. And, I know that the way my parents do things, I look at it and I think it's just so antiquated. Like, what? You have commercials? Like, what? Like, what is that?
Totally.
And so maybe this is the next thing. Like, what? You drive to go see a concert? Like, I just put some goggles on. The sound's amazing. And I'm sitting in my living room. Like, why would you physically go? Like, when's the last time you went to like a movie theater? Like, do you just watch Netflix or would you drive out to the movies?
I do
and
go to
maybe
the
that's
theater
the next
still.
form.
I still go to the theater.
I know, I do.
say.
Yeah, I saw that Everything Everywhere All at Once in theaters
Movie's
with Emily. It was
awesome.
incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good. Well, so I will still, because yes, it is an experience, but what happens in like 5-10 years when like the average home theater system is so good, that you don't really need to, and maybe we do because we're conditioned to do that. But like the kids growing up now, like they don't really go to the movies. They're
Thank
just,
you.
oh, well, we're going to watch a movie,
So this is actually. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You want to finish that thought?
I guess that's the thing I guess I was getting at is like what we're talking about with this. I did peep this article, and she's talking about touring and how difficult it is. And meanwhile, we're sitting here crying about this, and there's TikTok stars that are like millionaires, and they just have their phone, and they just, maybe that's the next evolution and maybe we're just we're so used to like high quality audio, because I don't listen to Nugs audio and soundboards either. I like studio quality audio.
Same.
But the kids that have grown up watching like YouTube stars, with camera phone audio, like they're accustomed to that sort of sound, and that's going to be the new thing. And so anyway, that's where I think things are kind of headed, unfortunately.
So I for sure on that, because here's the other thing, is that we had an article that we were talking about a few weeks ago. It's about this platform called Roblox and how they're merging with are you familiar with this?
One of my students actually, he produced the audio for a game on Roblox that's coming out next month. I'm freaking out about it.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, but that's how accessible this is. This is the kind of user generated content that TikTok is kind of. Roblox is obviously before TikTok, but TikTok is kind of ushering this in on a mass scale now, and I think we're going to see a lot more people on Roblox kind of doing the same thing. But what's happening is that there's this, I can't remember the name of the company right now. It's slipping my mind. There's a Brazilian company right now that designed graphics for games and whatever. And they're now signing a deal with Roblox about doing these virtual music festivals, these continuous music festivals, where basically you put on the goggles, you walk in, you're having not just the music, but like the human interaction, and also like the games that you play at festivals and the buying merchandise. You get the full-on experience in this virtual world. And I think that because of the way that touring is becoming just not practical anymore, and especially artists at that bit, like they're signing deals with major artists right now to do like the first iterations of this. And to your point, like we may not be buying into this idea totally right now, but the next generation of kids who are on these platforms are going to grow up with this alternative and not have to like go into the real world. And I think that the bigger artists are just going to take to it immediately, because their demographics are like the 18 to 25-year-old kids, and then even earlier than that a lot of the time. So those people are going to be adapting much quicker to that than we will. I think they're just going to be like, well, what do we need to tour for? We're selling virtual tickets to a virtual festival, or even to a virtual, like iHeartRadio has a similar thing with Roblox right now, where they have like iHeartRadio Land, and it's just, they have like concert venues and like, not a Rob Thicke and people like that, or Charlie Puth. Like, people are signing deals left and right to put on concerts at these virtual venues. You just buy a ticket to the concert, and then you watch not to mention like the idea of residual income from every like specific show after the fact, right? You can sell these experiences after they already happen. So the amount of income possible from that too. I think people are gonna look at touring and just be like, why? There's no point.
Yeah.
In 10 years,
and there's not going to be. And imagine there's no capacity either. Like, you could sell an unlimited number of tickets. It's not going to be what is that, Trevor or whatever the hell, that guy, he had like a concert and it like had too many people there. He oversold tickets and people died. Like,
Travis Scott.
Yeah, you're not going to have a Travis Scott situation in a digital event when everybody's in their homes,
Right. The capacity for like the literal capacity of the show, like the roof is going to be way higher, or the ceiling will be way higher for that. Yeah. It'll be just about the amount that your server can handle, basically, and then that'll be the ceiling for it. Yeah. That's.
And imagine the sound being perfect wherever you're at. You know what I mean? Like, when I go to a festival, sometimes you gotta like fight to get to like the sweet spot, which is usually near the sound booth. But obviously, there's gonna be people on the left or right side of the speakers or whatever. Like, imagine with like spatial audio too. Like, I don't know if you've experienced that with like the Apple AirPods.
Yeah.
Man, I got my girlfriend some of those for Christmas, and like when you turn your head, it's like the sound is over. I mean, imagine that at a concert experience. Like, that would be cool.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna get to a point where you can literally like like you'll be standing next. It won't be like these what do you call it? Like these avatars. It won't be avatars. It'll be an actual physical representation of the. I'm not saying right now, but like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it'll be like you're looking at a person. You can smell the smells. You can like feel the humidity at Swanee. You'll be able to fully experience. It'll be a fully immersive experience with a bodysuit or something. You know what I mean? It's gonna happen, and then artists like us are gonna be forced to try and figure out where our niche is in that world. Maybe maybe, like the smaller festivals kind of buy space in these virtual places and they try, I don't know what the outcome is, but I think that we're screwed on the touring front, which sucks 'cause I love touring. But like I think that
it's just an opinion of yours.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying
And
that,
it's just speculation. And I
Yeah,
don't
of
think
course.
anything that you're saying couldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think people are going to get rid of the actual touring. I think if anything, it's going to be an added feature, but I don't think it's going to replace stuff.
You don't think so?
No, not at all.
Maybe not right away. I don't think it will, but I think ultimately it will. Which is, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I don't think it'll replace it ever.
What do you think, Chris?
It'll exist, but it won't replace it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Sorry, I zoned out for a second. I was making sure the guys are. We're not gonna. We got like 15 minutes to rehearsal. Sorry, I was checking that.
Oh,
Can
no
you check
worries.
me back in real quick?
Yeah, we're just talking about this being like replacing live shows and touring as a whole. Whereas I think that not immediately, but I think it will phase out just because of logistically what it costs and what it takes to put on an actual real production. I don't think that it's going to be viable after 10 or
Yeah.
15 years. Billy says no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, us old fucks will probably always be like, remember the good old days when you could see a show in person?
Right.
Like, you could smell the sweat, is that whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, but, I mean, you got to also know, like, as someone who, I do spend a lot of time with kids, and, like, half of them have a panic attack if they have to go, like, do a checkout, like, in a grocery store. I mean, like, as I hate to say it, but I don't see this trend of anxiety going anywhere but up when I watched a generation of kids just like die mentally, like getting glued to screens in just like a year and a half. The ones that were like locked down and like stuck to screens doing like school 12 hours a day. And then like when they're done with school, they're playing Roblox and Minecraft and all this stuff. And like their work and their play and their everything is involved, centered around screens nonstop. And we know that blue light causes depression and anxiety. And that's why I'm not saying that's why, there's a number of reasons, but I know that trends, like anxiety is definitely trending upward. Like I always say that, I say like depression is trending. That's like my thing.
It is.
And I feel like as these kids are growing up, like ironically, like yes, they are more interconnected. Like a lot of them have more friends than I did as a kid growing up, but they spend exponentially less physical time with them. They have online friends and online relationships. And like, I have a good chunk of kids that have like boyfriends and girlfriends and like they, thems and like that they've never met and maybe never will. And like, that's their relationship. And they're getting more and more comfortable with because they were raised by iPads and they have anxiety and they have depression because they stare at blue light for 12 hours a day. And, I think that as that kind of increases, like, why would they want to physically go anywhere, when they could just stay in their safe little bubble and not have to leave, so.
Because outside's pretty nice.
To you, boomer.
I agree.
I'm a fucking boomer
Yeah.
because outside is good. They've been having fucking shows outside for thousands of years. And you're saying
Yeah.
like, no, people don't want to do that anymore. They want to stay at home.
I didn't say that.
bullshit.
I didn't say that right now. No one said that right now.
I'm
We're
saying
just
ever.
The trend.
I'm saying I definitely see this getting better technology and people are gonna want to do it. But I think the best you're never gonna be able to beat virtual reality or like real life. Virtual reality is never gonna be able to beat real life.
That is subjective.
I think that's just the truth.
And we will check in on that in 30 years and then see where. and see
I'm
where
saying
it's at.
100.
For
I'm
the
getting one
record,
of those
I-
subwoofer backpacks and
Yeah.
a good set of headphones with the goggles.
I'm saying
I'm there.
I'll do it too, bro. I won't take mushrooms out in public. I've missed out on a lot of amazing festival experiences because of my proclivity for comfort. And all I'm saying is that if I get a nice bodysuit, some goggles that can take me there, I will certainly eat some mushrooms and have a festival experience.
And
in
he's
that
never
capacity.
seen The Matrix.
I'm not into The Matrix. Never watched it.
Oh, what? You gotta do that, man.
I tried recently.
We all know how
and I fell
they were
asleep.
just loving being in The Matrix. And
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh, this is so great.
I didn't say it was gonna be
They were
better.
dying to get out.
I didn't say it was gonna be better.
Dying to get out.
I'm not saying that it's going to be better or that society is going to be better because of it. All I'm saying is like the dinosaurs went extinct at some point.
Yeah, because
like,
asteroid. What are you talking about?
all I'm saying is that everything comes to an end. It's not for the it's not for the betterment of anything. It just is what it is, and that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I just disagree like wholeheartedly. But you have some good points.
All right, so let's wrap the segment up. I know you gotta get going to a rehearsal. I just want to get to unpopular opinions really quickly because this usually takes up a bit of time too. So
It's all good. It's okay. It's soft. It's loose.
okay, dope. So what's your unpopular opinion this week, Bill?
Elon Musk is doing a bang up job at Twitter.
I don't know. I'm not on Twitter.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Would you?
No, he's doing a really great job at Twitter.
You're being ironic or?
No.
Okay, so Billy hates Elon Musk and rich people in general. So he thinks anything.
Nice.
He thinks that anybody that has seen any kind of success in their life has never had to work for it and believes that they're just inherently evil. So he believes that Elon Musk is evil and is probably doing a terrible job.
Well,
with
if he
Twitter.
didn't inherit money, what did he inherit? Evil.
Money is the root of all evil. It all makes sense.
Yeah, the Lord said that. Go to church.
I actually had an unpopular opinion about this a long time ago, and I think that language is actually the root of all evil. But we can go. That's a different topic for a different time.
I'm just saying. I'll say one thing about this. The funniest thing about this whole Twitter debacle, it's just crazy to me that he went through with it, and he could have paid $1 billion and got out of it, but he decided to pay $44 billion, some shit like that. And then his first fucking rule of action was like, all you gotta do is pay $10 a month and you can become verified. And it backfired so fucking hard on him. It was hilarious. They had to get rid of it immediately. Did you read about that, right?
No, I haven't.
So
I'm not on Twitter.
No, I'm just saying, but because you could buy a blue check mark, it makes you look official. So everybody was making these fake accounts, buying that blue check mark, and then like fucking saying whatever they wanted to. And like I can't remember what name of the company it was, but they just lost all this money because they were
They said insulin's free.
insulin is free, right? From like a medical R&D place or whatever.
That's hilarious.
But you could do that.
Yeah.
And then, like, not even like a couple days later, it's like, oh, this is a bad idea, and then just got rid of the blue check marks completely.
Yeah.
You're doing a great fucking job,
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
It's just.
I love it.
It's so just like pretentious and just so like revealing of how little you understand what it takes to run a company like that. You can't. Like you have to. He's going in to try and fix a problem. Okay.
No, he's not. He's being an idiot.
And the thing is that like you have no fucking clue what it means to run a company at that level, and then you're gonna sit there and you're going to like cast judgment on what he's trying. He made a mistake, and then he's backing off on it. Like if you've ever been in charge of anything, you've made mistakes, you've made decisions that haven't worked out the way that you thought. Then you go back on it, and then you try and like figure out the next way to handle the problem. It's like to believe that you could like judge him and call him an idiot based on a call that he made running a company like that he just walked into is insane to me. Like you couldn't possibly understand that like the level of shit that he's dealing with trying to like fix the problem that is Twitter or whatever problem. I'm not on Twitter. I don't know. But like it's just like it's the guy doesn't just like walk in and just like fix a problem like that. You know what I mean? Like you have to.
It wasn't a problem. He made a problem. And also, what? Just real quick, what did Elon Musk invent?
It's
Why is he a genius?
It's because he knows what to do with his money. It's a different kind of intelligence.
He didn't invent shit.
It does.
He's a rich fucking
funded a
kid
lot of projects.
whose parents owned an emerald mine and bought fucking Twitter for $44 billion.
He funded a lot of projects and he
Fired everybody.
a lot of innovative and great ideas. And
So the stock is plummeting. I don't understand why he did it. It doesn't make any sense. I just don't get why he did it.
because he was trying to stop the.
Yeah, you don't even fucking know.
No,
anyways.
yeah.
What's your unpopular opinion,
He
Tony?
was trying to make it. He was trying to end this idea that people were getting banned from a website, a platform that was helping with their careers. They were getting banned because there was
They were saying like hate speech and stuff.
No, that's not what it was for everybody, man. There's a lot of people that were getting banned because you can't make that algorithm work to scale. It works when you talk about 100, 200 people say something, but words at a certain point start to get misconstrued and ideas and concepts. When you're talking about the variability of whatever 500 million people, whoever the amount of people that are on there, the variability is too hard to regulate. So he's trying to come in and like fix the problem of how you regulate speech. So it's not like, you know, people who've built their entire careers on a platform are not getting banned from it because they said something slightly controversial. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, have you guys ever been? I mean, my dad was just banned from Facebook for 24 hours because he said like, "Oh, I'm coming for you, jackass," or something like that, because we were gonna play darts. And he got banned for 24 hours. I've been banned for one time. I wanted to play a bass gig, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I would kill for that gig." And I got banned for 3 days for
Saying
inciting
kill?
violence.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. Like,
Yeah.
you can't. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, it's okay. Well, I agree. I actually do agree to that extent because at a certain point, everyone says, "Oh, it's a private company. It can do whatever the fuck it wants." It's like, you know, but then at the same time, you know, that same crowd will tend to get upset when a private company decides that it doesn't want to sell a cake to like a gay couple, which I disagree with. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. But the point is, like, at a certain point, yes, a small mom and pop shop can say or not do what it wants, and it'll reap the consequences of its actions, and
Not in Kentucky.
rightfully so. Well, yeah, maybe
That's
maybe
where
not.
that's where it was at. Yeah.
But at a certain point, I think there is a scale where like what? So can Verizon, if they don't like my political views, can they like cut off my phone because they don't like what I say on it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does Frontier, who provides my internet, can they shut off my internet because they're like, oh, like fuck you, dude? Like, I think at a certain point, like I see the argument that it's like a town square because like the only way that I interface with 99% of my friends is through social media. Like I have a lot of your guys. I don't think I have either of your numbers. I think you guys are friends and like I think we will communicate and like, but we use Facebook Messenger. Like most of the interactions I've had is I see your posts and like, or I'm following your posts even from this show, you know, on Instagram, and I see them pop up. And so the idea that a flawed algorithm, for one, the automated system is bullshit because it will flag you oftentimes for words that the algorithm or whatever the automated system is using is misconstruing without the human element. But there were also Facebook like fact checkers that they did actually have like pretty strong opinions in particular about, I know with Twitter, it was dead naming. If you dead name someone on Twitter, you will get a lifetime ban. Like that does, and I'm not saying that that's not a thing you should do. You should totally 100% respect, you know, someone who's transitioning, like totally. Like I have a few students that do. I love them no matter what they identify as. Like it doesn't matter, you know, like to me, it doesn't matter. And I don't think it's annoying that I have to say that and reiterate that out of fear of being labeled transphobic for just saying that if you dead name someone, even if it's on accident, or maybe you're just ignorant in that moment, you need to be educated. The solution is not to ban someone for life on this platform. And because that is in this digital day and age, like that's like a death sentence. I mean, 90% of my business comes from social media because I post, these are what my students are doing. This is what my band's doing. Like you can live as a hermit, like without internet access, but it's very difficult in today's day and age. And that's a serious, you know, now if you're literally a Nazi, and there are 3,000 registered KKK members in this country, there are.
Yeah.
There's if you literally are, I get that, but so often, like, especially during 2020, like a lot of my friends would label half the country as Nazis, and like that's not like.
Billy would probably be one of them, by the way.
No, I'm just all I'm trying to say is some asshole fucking brought a fucking bomb inside of a chute of the airport, and now we all gotta take our fucking shoes off. What's the goddamn difference for Twitter?
Well, it's a private company, and I think that there were things in place that
I'm saying that's why they ban you, because if they go like, oh well, yeah, you're right, we shouldn't have banned you for that, but they also got the fucking 3,000 KKK members off. I think it's okay.
No, man, there's no way it's okay. There was literally there was a feminist who I can't remember her name right now. She was banned totally because she made a point about whatever. It was her opinion that there's no difference between that like a man can't be a woman and vice versa because she was like a traditional feminist, whatever. She got banned for life on Twitter for saying that. That's kind of a crazy thing to ban someone for life for saying. Why not just have the public discourse about it, whatever your opinion is, and either way, the decision was, in my opinion, for them being a private company, is allowed to be there. Like you can make that decision. Elon Musk was like, "This is a bad idea. Let me buy your company, and I'm going to try and fix that problem." He's trying to fix the problem, and then people like you are laughing at him for making mistakes while trying to fix the problem. And so you couldn't even fathom like what problem he's trying to fix.
That was the dumbest thing, though.
How can you say it was a $44 billion
Because-
acquisition? How can you say that you know what's dumb about that?
Because it's like the easiest thing.
You've
in
never
the
made
world.
anywhere near about that much
Why
money
would
in your
you?
life. It's crazy to me.
Why would you let anybody be able to be like, oh no, yeah, I'm Target, like and I'm verified, like, and you
that's
don't
pretty
think that's
goofy.
fucking stupid?
It turned out that it was a really dumb idea for sure.
That's all I'm saying.
But like he backtracked. Now he's trying to fix the problem. But it's like to laugh at him for like making mistakes because he's trying to like fix the problem is crazy to me.
Well, he fixed the wrong fucking problem,
all right. So
and it was a great unpopular opinion. Probably my best, I guess.
that was
you got
controversial.
real fired
Yeah,
up.
that was pretty controversial. I like it. Okay,
About
so
to transfer over to fucking InfoWars here in a second. You know what
yeah,
I'm
right.
saying?
We're about to move over to fucking truth over here.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who shouldn't have been banned? Just trying to tell the fucking truth.
Yeah.
All right. So my unpopular opinion this week.
I have a point. That's all I'm saying. Keep going.
Yeah.
My unpopular opinion this week is that, let's see, which one haven't I used yet?
You got a list of them too?
Yeah.
That's so cute.
I'm not.
We both do.
I don't love it when comedic actors and writers try and do stand-up comedy.
You mean like actors that are normally in comedy movies and stuff
Or
like
writers,
that?
yeah.
Or writers. Like you can imagine like Seth Rogen doing comedy. That's what you kind of say. But what's an example?
Adam Devine, Penny or Jenny Slate.
can't
I mean,
think of any.
not Seth Meyers. His brother though. What was his brother's name? I can't remember.
Mike Myers?
No, he's also on SNL though. No, it was Seth Meyers. Yeah, it was Seth Meyers who did a stand-up special a few years
He
back.
just looks a lot like his brother.
They both look like each other. Yeah. But people like that, where it's or even Nick Kroll did one recently.
But a lot of these people, everybody that you started as a comedian.
They started as a stand-up comic, but they haven't done it like the whole time.
No.
They moved into like writing or acting very quickly. Like even most of them will point to
Yeah.
the fact that like they wouldn't call themselves stand-up comics. And then even furthermore, when Seth Meyers put out his stand-up a while back, they were interviewing him on some comics podcast, and they were like, "Is he a comic in New York? Is he doing spots?" And they were like, "No." Like, the guy doesn't go out and do spots. Are you crazy? It's just like they're using their ability to act to go on stage and put on an act, which is fine. But to me, like I'm like a real fan of stand-up comedy. Like I love stand-up comedy,
Yeah.
and it's so blatantly obvious
Have
to
you ever-
me when they're not like stand-up comedians.
Have you ever seen Blake Griffin? You know who Blake Griffin is?
I think so.
The center for the Clippers for forever.
Oh,
The
I
Clippers
don't
is an
know.
NBA team.
Okay.
Anyways,
not a big
he,
NFL guy.
he started doing stand-up for a little while, and it was just so bad.
Yeah,
Because he's trying to relate to everybody, being like 6'7" NBA millionaire, and like talking about being interviewed and stuff like that. It's not good.
yeah.
But that's he wasn't in movies. Oh no, he was in a couple movies. But anyways, the whole point is, I can't think of anybody else that you talk as an example.
Well, 3 people I just named right there. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
what do you think, Chris?
I don't actually know those people, to be
Yeah.
honest, but I don't disagree with the premise, though, because there are a lot of songwriters. Like, I don't know if I'll do this with my students a lot. We go on Spotify and oh, you like Panic at the Disco, that song High Hopes or whatever, and we'll look at the songwriters. There's like 7 songwriters on
Right.
that shit. There's 3 producers, and, you know, I actually, some of them do make music of their own, and it's like, when they make it on their own, the delivery is not fantastic. You can tell their skill it's not in the execution of it, it's in the inception of it, you know?
Right.
So I totally agree, even if I don't know the people you're talking about, the concept of being able to, like, the art of executing is very different from the art of creating. And so that's why a lot of, like, I know Taylor Swift writes her own stuff, but like Katy Perry doesn't write anything on her own. You know, she sings other people's music.
Right.
You know, in the same way that, like, I don't know if you remember, like, it might have been like 10 or some years ago, there was a writer's strike, and you had to watch The Daily Show and The Colbert Report when there were no writers for like 2 months or something.
I remember that.
And it was like, it was weird because, like, all this time you think of these people as these like super funny people, and they still were, but when they were stalling and just trying to fill time and it was awkward, it was like, oh man, they like those, like there is an art to that, you know. But I
Yeah.
bet those people wouldn't be great. Like if you were to watch them deliver their own jokes, it wouldn't be anywhere near like Colbert. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's the thing. It's also Jon Stewart was a stand-up comic. Like he's a comic. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he kind of
Oh,
went.
yeah, that's
so he-
true. Yeah.
Stephen Colbert was not so much a stand-up comic. He was an actor. Like he went to Second City and did like he was an improv
Probably
comedian.
the best of all time.
Yeah, he's amazing. And that's not to say these people aren't funny. Let me clarify this. I believe that if you are a comedic writer or if you're an improv like comedy improv, you are a comedian in a different capacity. It doesn't mean that you can go on stage and be a stand-up comic. That's a different medium for comedy.
Yeah.
You can write and you're hilarious. You can be on stage or you can be on a sketch show or you can be in a movie and deliver the writing in a hilarious capacity. In my eyes, you are a comedian still. However, to go on to try and sell a stand-up just a stand-up special to me is it's almost like it's like you're trying your hand at something because like it's a creative aspect that you want to go after. But like when these people use their names because they're like big in movies and on the writing side of things, they use their names to go and do a stand-up special. It's like they're comedians that have been working on the stage for years. They can't get these deals, and you're taking spots away from them. Basically, it's a cyber version of bumping, in my opinion, at like an open mic. You know what I mean? Like people are trying to get their names out there, and you're using your clout. Not as a stand-up comedian, but maybe as a comedian in some capacity to do stand-up. And to me, it's very obvious when you're not an actual like stand-up comedian. It's just it's clear as day that you're not a real stand-up. You know. I don't know. People seem to love it though, so I think it's an unpopular opinion. What's your opinion, Chris? What's your unpopular opinion, Chris?
Life starts at conception, and all abortions should be illegal everywhere.
Oh boy.
I'm kidding.
Jesus.
I'm kidding.
Let's say we are for
kidding.
sure gonna edit this part out.
No, actually, I'm very pro-choice. Actually, I think there's a bill in I don't know recently that said something about where like I think it's in Florida. I think it's up to 15 weeks or something. I actually think it should be a little higher. I support abortion up to 18. Like I think as someone who teaches kids, I think that imagine if you had teenagers running around and they're being a little shit and they're 13. You're like, go to your room. And they're like, no. You're like, do you want to get aborted? They would be so well behaved. So if you could abort up to 18, that would be great. So yeah.
Here's what I'll say. Going back to what you were talking about earlier, what was the story?
You
with
can
the
always
king?
kill your child.
Well, that's
like, you're gonna face a consequence.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, go back to your story earlier. What was the king that was going to kill the dude for finding out the weight mass of the crown?
Oh,
Archimedes.
Archimedes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Archimedes. Sorry, I'm very uneducated in
No
history
shit.
or
It's
okay.
mythology or
It's
anything.
okay.
As a society,
Yeah.
have we just kind of thrown the baby out with the bathwater in the sense where like maybe we should still be using death as a real form of incentive? You
There's
know what I mean?
capital punishment in multiple states.
But that's more of a punishment. I'm saying just like
They still have it in California.
I'm saying use it as an incentive is what I'm saying.
Use it as an incentive.
Like, hey, find out what my crown weighs or is worth, or you'll die. That guy figured it out in fucking 3 days. I'm just saying.
I think
Yeah.
it would work better is if you like accomplish something and then you got to kill someone.
So is your okay? So Chris,
both ways, yeah.
so
Yeah.
is your argument that we kind of maybe rushed too quick to cutting out death as an incentive altogether?
No.
An incentive and also just a way of like culling the herd and just making sure that we're like we have decelerated Darwinism by letting everybody live, right? So we should definitely not lose that. Like, why is there a warning label when I get Drano that says don't drink this? Take the label off, man.
Yeah.
Like, if someone's gonna do it, let them do it, man. Like, we
Yeah.
should. There's all these like, don't spread misinformation. People might put a fork in an outlet. Like, hey, go for it, man. See what's up.
Cigarettes are like fucking $10 a pack right now. It should be free. I mean, they're just plants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of
Kind of don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying to you if I told you this wasn't a thought that I've had like every single day of my life. Where it's just like maybe we're just letting too many people live.
I always think about Dwight Schrute. It's like we need a good plague.
Yeah,
and then we got one.
we got one. And what did they try? They try to shut that one down real quick
but
by keeping us all inside.
It just
they
got
should just let us all do whatever
all
we
the
wanted.
grandmas and grandpas. It fucking sucked.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The worst fucking.
There's got to be like an equalizer, you know? Like that's why I'm all for Giant Asteroid 2024, man. Like it's just everybody out all at once. Like it's great.
Is that a hashtag yet or what?
Oh, it's been around for a while.
It needs to be,
happened in 2020 because of all the Trump stuff or whatever. But
Giant Asteroid 2024?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or
hilarious.
2020.
It was on
Hell
Twitter
yeah.
first. You just didn't see it.
Yeah, you probably just didn't see it.
Yeah. Well, now everyone will see it on Twitter because Elon Musk is doing an amazing thing with Twitter.
I bet he's gonna fucking bail in the next month and a half.
Maybe. That's hilarious. I love that unpopular opinion. Yeah, I don't think any of us here have anything to disagree with that about, honestly. It's a
I
pretty
mean,
good one.
tongue in cheek, I actually disagree with that. I think every life is sacred. You can change anybody, but at the same time,
Billy doesn't support Billy's not pro-choice. You just said it right there in that statement.
I'm pro-choice.
So I just want to say, everyone out there, Billy is not pro-choice.
That's not what I said.
Let's just go ahead and
Aggressively pro-life.
yeah, aggressively pro-life is
No,
Billy.
I'm
He's from
not.
Kentucky. You'll have to forgive him.
Born and raised. Want to fight about it?
Chris, thank you so. To be fair, Billy is pro-choice. Let's
Yeah.
not end on that. But Chris, thank you so much for being with us, man. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate you taking the time. We can't wait to hear the full album in its entirety, in context with everything.
December 6th.
6th.
Yeah,
Right?
all streaming platforms. Yep. And then the album release show is December 10th at Crowbar in Tampa,
Hell yeah.
Billy's favorite city.
Billy's favorite
And it's
city.
not even like that's like the heart of fucking. That's Ybor City. That's the worst fucking. Ugh.
Oh yeah, it's ratchet as fuck, man.
Say
it's
say hi to Shoe Licker for me.
great. I will. He's such a good dude. He's still licking shoes, man.
Fuck
Oh
that
my
guy,
God.
bro. I fucking hate that city.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Well,
Giant
so
asteroid
nice.
on Tampa 2022.
oh my
I'll take that.
I love Tampa. For those who are listening in Tampa, I'm a big fan. I will always be a supporter of Tampa. We've had some of our best shows in Tampa, so I love Tampa.
First city to go in global warming.
All right, well, here we go. Chris, thanks again for being on, man. Have a great rehearsal, and we will
right,
talk
will
to you
do.
soon.
All right. Thank you. All right. See you guys.
Peace, man.
Adios, muchachos.